Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we've got plenty to talk about. Pokemon is pushing these new learn to play events, hopefully to get more people involved in the Pokemon TCG, playing it at least. We've got some new cards that were revealed, including one golden Pokemon that seems like it's going to be pretty dang good. We'll talk about all those card reveals. We, of course, will have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. And we'll wrap it up this week with our Pittsburgh Regional Championship meta forecast because the 2024 season is here, Azul. We're ready to get underway. The new season just about to start. My name is Chip Ritchie, joined here as always by my friend and co-host, Azul GG. Azul, you feeling ready for Pittsburgh? And how was your week, man?
I don't know about ready. I would like to have at least played some more Pokemon before leading up to the event. I guess I'm as ready as I'm gonna be. Like, I'm not disappointed in myself for, like, the preparation I've done so far. I prepared at least as much, like, try hard testing as I usually do, which is basically 0. I would have liked to have been, like, at least streaming a little bit more, but I was sick immediately after Worlds, so I'm kinda playing catch up on just, like, playing newest ways to play decks and meta decks in general a little bit with that, which is usually how, like, I go about doing a lot of getting familiar with a meta is just, like, playing decks on stream, and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit behind on that than where I would normally be, but I'm not like disappointed for where I'm at. Like I was sick and didn't play very much Pokemon, but feeling okay. Yeah, I'm excited for the first event of the year, no matter what. And it looks like it's gonna be probably the biggest regional of the year as well, or the biggest regional we've had. Probably not the biggest regional of the
Ever.
year. Yeah, the biggest regional ever, but probably not the biggest one of the year.
The biggest regional ever so far.
Ever so far, yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like it's just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, which is I mean, it's exciting. It's
Good
a
thing.
really exciting time to be a competitive involved in the competitive Pokemon, TCG scene.
Yeah, I was
Um,
actually on that topic real fast. I was actually talking about my chat with that earlier today on my stream, and to be honest, like Pokemon is probably the like if you're playing a card game competitively, I think Pokemon's the place to be. Like
Probably, yeah.
it's growing more than the other two big ones, Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic. I mean, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh is just kind of like waiting to die, to be honest, because it feels like I mean, who's the one who makes Yu-Gi-Oh? Who's behind Yu-Gi-Oh?
Konami.
It doesn't feel like Konami, like, cares. They're just kinda, like, letting it continue, the competitive, like, tournaments continue. Like well, I guess, like, they have to because like, that's the only reason to play the game, right? It's not like Pokemon where it's like there's a collector scene behind it, but, like, it doesn't feel like they're trying to push to make it bigger from everything I hear about Yu-Gi-Oh! And then obviously, like, the competitive Magic scene has, taken a steep decline recently, and it sound from what I can gather about their events as well, it doesn't feel
Dude,
like they're
if
trying to push growth in that in the competitive tournaments for
it
Magic.
feels like Wizards, that the company that makes Magic, is honestly just trying to, like, milk their player base for as much money as possible before, like, I don't know, the downfall or something. That's honestly what it feels like, dude. Do you know, like, a regular booster pack is $8.50 for Magic, I'm pretty sure now. Like, that's how much, like, the Lord of the Rings ones were
Sheesh.
in Target, at least. And
Yeah.
then they have those collector booster packs. Do you know how much it is for one collector booster pack at, when they were on the shelf at Target for the Lord of the Rings set when that came out?
How much?
They're $42
Gee.
for one booster
Yeah, for one
pack.
booster pack.
Like,
But
what?
actually, I knew
Their
that. I forgot that.
pre-constructed decks are like $70.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Yeah, that's actually, like, a big thing as well, right? Like, compared to other games, now I don't think it would be bad if, like, Pokemon, the entry the entry as far as, like, getting cards, like, went up a little bit in Pokemon, like, if it naturally did, that wouldn't be a bad thing, but, like, you can buy, like, a top tier deck for, like, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, right? So, like
Yeah.
and then once you get
I
some of the staples, like, that just carries over to so many other decks. So, like, Pokemon is, like, in a ridiculously good spot from, like and, like, no matter I mean, it's, like, another thing I've been getting frustrated with how much the Pokemon community has been complaining recently. I think if you live in America and you go to American regionals, you have 0 reasons to complain about, like, the competitive tournament and tournament structure right now. Like, you might disagree with, like, maybe there should be pricing down to top 64, but, like, there's definitely an argument for it to only be down to top 32, right? And so on and so forth. So, like, there's no real complaints you can really have as, like, an American Pokemon player right now, I feel like. Like, Canadians, a little bit expensive to get to America. They don't have that many regionals. Europeans are getting screwed over. Latin American players are getting screwed over. Australians, it's rough for them too, but there's such a small scene. It's really hard. Like, I would like to I would want to be a little bit more informed on like TBCI's decisions with like Australia, but the tournament organizers over there are bad as well. So like Australia is getting screwed over, Latin America is getting screwed over, Europe's getting screwed over. Here in America, not only are we not getting screwed over, but everything is progressing in a very healthy growth way, right? The terms are getting bigger. They're responding to the players that are showing up. The terms are getting bigger and growing. The caps are being increased. The prize money is getting bigger. Like, yeah, I just don't see a reason to complain right now. And I love complaining about TPCI. So like I love complaining about it. But if you play the Pokemon TCG in America, like this is the best place to be competing for a card game right now for sure. Like in the world, probably.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think it's fine to praise them for the good things. Like they've done a lot of good things the last few months, and the prize pool increase has certainly, healed a lot of wounds, you could say, right? Or like made people forget or like less worried about things that they were previously more upset about. But like one thing I do think that is kind of a problem with the circuit right now is definitely the cup situation, the league cup situation. If you're competing at like regional level stuff, I think is good.
Hmm.
But I do think like cups are kind of a mess. I've seen so many stories locally and just on Twitter of people talking about just terrible cup stories of like tournament organizers or like the store owners not allowing people to ID at tournaments and stuff like that, and poor prizing. I saw the one thread this weekend that I think kind of got a lot of traction. A lot of people probably saw it, where a player was talking about how it was $20 entry to this cup and there was 30 something players there, and the store prized out like 1.5 booster boxes of
Sheesh.
product. So like uh I think there's a I don't know. And that's like a whole nother topic too, where people might argue about well, the store needs to make money on their events and stuff like that. But I think like the most important thing as a store, in my opinion, is that you take care of the players. And
You want them to come
if
back.
you can take care of your player base and like create loyal players, you're going to generate the most revenue in the long term rather than chasing the short term, few $100 extra from running a
Yeah.
league cup. It's much better to not leave that bad taste in your community's mouth, in my opinion. But
Well, I think, like, there could be, like, some more policing from TPCI on that. I think it's maybe possible, but, of course, the best way to kind of do that is, like, support tickets, sending your support tickets. I
yeah.
think as
Or
long
if
as a
Pokemon sent
tournament's
the prize support specifically, right? Like that's what they used to
yeah,
do for cities, right? If you want,
that's
or
true.
maybe pre-releases, or I don't remember what level of tournament it was, but it's like when you won a pre-release back in the day, you used to get a box, right?
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
was
I didn't even
provided
play back
by the
then when that
Pokemon
happened.
company. So like if Pokemon just sent the product and said it was very clear, like this is what you give to this, placement for each of your um, finishers at your cup, and it was like published online, right, for everyone to see, not just like organizers, then you can hold people to more of a standard. And I think like overall, like
Wouldn't you
a
have to, like,
standardization
standardize
makes a lot more sense
yeah.
those that sense,
Would you have
right?
to standardize entry fee then as well? I
I
think you would, right?
probably, yeah.
I don't know, I kinda like the 1Ks, the 5Ks, or when people,
I feel like I see that happening a lot less though than when we saw last summer.
yeah, maybe. But, like, the idea to be flexible with that and, like, run a bigger tournament for your community, I think is, like, not a bad thing. I mean, yeah, I think I
Sure.
think for the system we're in now, I think there's definitely an argument for, like, some more policing from TBCI. But Pokemon players have to stop being so championship point hungry, and they have to like vote with their wallet and not show up to these stores if they're that bad.
Oh yeah.
Because the amount of players who are going to go back to these same stores after complaining on 'em is like 90%. They're
Yeah,
going to show
you're
up because
totally
there's
right.
CP on. Like you just got to vote with your wallet. If they go from a 30-player League Cup to a 5-player League Cup, they're not going to run. They're either going to improve it or they're not going to run a League Cup again. I think one thing that you should definitely submit a support ticket on as far as the League Cup goes, because like I don't know the guidelines that TPCI gives out to TOs at these places? Because I'm sure there's some kind of guidelines, but like if they're not fully advertising what's happening at the tournament, I think that's something that kind of feels disingenuous. If they're like $20 entry fee, they should also be telling what the pricing is before you show up. I think that'd be reasonable, or give you like a breakdown of if we get X amount of players, so on and so forth. But I mean, like, uh, as far as like stores making a profit, when people say that, like stores making a profit on the League Cup, I mean, if they're if they're effectively, if they just take product they have, they're just selling you product for your entry fee. They're always making a profit. It's just like how far are they gonna go, right? If they effectively sold you packs at $4 a pack based on the entry fee given to you or $5 a pack, they make they're making money. They don't have to go up to 10, 15, $20 a pack effectively, right? Which it sounds like, that one that you gave was an
Yeah.
example where that's basically what happened. But yeah, like Pokemon players have to stop being fiends and like vote with your wallet. Don't
It's
show
never
up
gonna
to the
happen,
League
though.
Cup.
People
It's
value the
just
championship points way too highly.
then stop complaining because for the current system we're in, that's how you get player. That's how you get tos of the thing or store owners to like recognize that what they're doing is like wrong. Because if you guys just show up and then the tournament happens and there's a winner, then they're like, okay, it went well. Everyone played in the tournament. We'll do it again. But like, yeah, you got to vote with your wallet in this situation for sure. For the current system, not saying the system can't improve,
Sure.
but that's one of the biggest ways to improve the system, I think, right now, or to improve the quality of the tournaments you're going to is just don't go to the tournament if it's that bad.
One other thing, I mean, this was not in our list of topics to talk about, but, like, while we're on it, this is something I've kinda, that's become an issue in our area at least, and I'm sure it happens elsewhere in the country, um, is stores not communicating with one another about, like, the dates that they're holding their tournaments.
Yeah.
So, there's, like, only 2 or 3 stores within 30 minutes of my house or so, and, 2 of the stores consistently have their cups and challenges on the same day. And it makes no sense. Why would both stores not want more people to be at their events? And then also one of the stores nearby, I heard apparently they intentionally scheduled their League Cup to be the same weekend as Pittsburgh because they wanted to give the less competitive players a chance to earn points.
I mean, I guess
And to
it,
me, so like I think stores should always do what makes the most sense for like their local player base first, right? I'm totally
yeah.
on board for that. But when it comes to league cups specifically, I mean, they're meant to be a little bit higher level of a tournament than league challenges. They are meant to be one of the main bridges for most people to get to worlds. Like the majority of people who get their worlds invite are going to get 40+% of their points from league cups and challenges.
Yeah.
Um, so they are a super important part of the invite structure. So to me, it just feels so backwards that I think there maybe should be some sort of blackout date of if there's a regional championship within 500-mile radius or something of where your store is, or whatever a reasonable driving distance, so like 10-hour driving distance cap or something. Maybe not even that high, but 7, 8 hours, something like that. If there's a regional championship, there should be like maybe a blackout date in a certain radius. I think that would make sense. That's another thing I'd like to see happen.
I don't know if I'd ever go that far. I'm actually curious then for like the two League Cups that you said that happened, they were both stores like 30 minutes away from you. It doesn't sound like for those stores they were doing with anything malicious intent, right? They weren't trying to like or like trying to like,
No,
you know,
no, but from what
body
I've
the other store
heard
by running
is
their cup at the same time.
I've talked to people at one of the stores and like been like, "Hey, why does this keep happening?" And some people have said like, we've tried to reach out and it just doesn't seem like they're very interested in trying to work. They're just gonna go with what works for their schedule, and if it just happens that things happen on the same weekend, then it is what it is.
Yeah, because it sounds like as long as like if both stores are capping on capacity, then it doesn't really matter, right? But I assume that's not the
Sure. And one of them is pretty small, to be honest. But
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if
I don't
that's
want to talk too
happening,
much specifics about
yeah.
this stuff because I don't know, like,
Uh, the last thing I was gonna say,
all
oh,
the
I had one more
details.
thing to say on that. Yeah, I think for the most part, for that stuff to like get fixed. Yeah, but so another thing with like leak up, it even says like in like the guidelines for it. I saw this come up recently on Twitter. It's like that they were against it, but stores can like offer favoritism to their local players as far as entry goes, right? Like they can let them sign up first, which I think is fine as
Sure.
well. But then, yeah, then I don't know why you have to go to wait. If you like let your locals sign up to the League Cup first, I don't know why you would run it on the same weekend as a regional. I guess it's so that those
What if
players
your
can't show
locals
up
want to
at
go to the
all.
regional,
Yeah,
Like,
I guess it's just like so those players can't show up at all. I guess would be a reason, right? Like they're intentionally making it so it's just some players, which is weird. I mean, as a store, I would assume you'd want as many people there as possible, like with the idea of making a profit, but running bigger tournament, whatever it might be. Of course, you are a business, so making a profit, I assume, has to be on the mind a little bit. And
Sure.
to go back a little bit to what I was saying earlier, I'm all for complaining about TPCI messing things up and not responding well to situations. But like what I said earlier, like if you're playing in America right now, there's basically no reason to complain about major tournaments. That's because have responded to basically all the issues that we've had in a very reasonable manner. There's like I said, there's basically if you're playing in America and going to American tournaments, American major tournaments, you have no reason to really complain right now at all about anything. Everything is on track with the growth of the game and making even like far and above probably unexpected improvements with like the prize pool increase and stuff like that. So I feel like people just like to complain about stuff. It's like almost like embedded in the culture of the Pokemon community at this point to just constantly complain about things that are not perfect or going perfectly at major Pokemon tournaments. But like not everything's going to be truly perfect. But I think the back and forth we have with TPCI right now at American regionals, Europe, like I said, Europe, Latin America, Australia, they're all being screwed over because for the most part, I think it is like their TOs, like their especially like their regional TOs, I feel like don't quite have the connection to the community that we have here in America. I mean, we got people like Kreckler, Jimmy Ballard. They've played the game. Their kids have played the game, right? Like they have a much like they're probably a lot more passionate about trying to see the game grow and everything to work a lot better. But over in Europe, as far as I can tell, the people who run those tournaments are like actual tournament organizers. ESL is the one who runs the Australian tournaments, and then Copag has always been one of the worst tournament organizers that they have in Latin America. So I think we have to give big props to not just TPCI in this sense, but also the TOs that we have here in America for it being in such a good spot. So I definitely feel for the rest of the world. But like I said, yeah, if you're in America right now, it's probably the best it's ever been, to be honest.
Yeah, I've heard there's still people, when dealing with Copag that, like, have not gotten paid out their money
Yeah.
from their
From
winnings at LAIC
LAIC.
last year,
Yeah.
and we're, like, 2 months away from LAIC this year, so
Almost a
hopefully they get that
full
figured out.
year. Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move on to our first topic.
Yeah.
Go ahead and kick us off, Chip.
Yeah, so s I mean, it does feel like things are improving continually with the Pokemon TCG, and part of that too is more people getting involved in the Pokemon TCG. And I feel like TPCI has really focused a ton of effort the last 12 to 24 months at getting people involved in playing the Pokemon TCG, or at least like getting people to learn how to play the Pokemon TCG. Pokemon's one of the biggest brands in the entire world,
Biggest.
the biggest, right? Uh, but when it comes to the TCG specifically, we've got a ton of fans that collect the cards, have had cards from their childhood, right? But the majority, massive majority of people just don't know how to play the game. And so we've seen a ton of efforts put forth by Pokemon to try to remedy that, right? What is it called? The Battle Academy, the board game version that they sell in stores. I think is it called Battle Academy? I don't remember what it is exactly. Um,
I have no clue what you're talking about. I have not seen this thing.
It's a battle. I think it's the Battle Academy, but they've released that a couple years ago as a way to try to get people, figure out how to play the Pokemon TCG. They've been hosting these play labs, which we'll talk about here in a second, and now they're also bringing uh, demo events to local Pokemon leagues. They actually put this release out on the Pokemon website today. It says start your Pokemon TCG journey at a demo events at League. Attend one of these events to get a participating retailer to discover the game and get a demo deck featuring a Pokemon V. And yeah, it just sounds like, at your local stores, if they're holding one of these demo events, they're trying to just get more people with Pokemon cards in their hands in an environment where they're actually be playing with the Pokemon cards.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool to see. I actually talked to one another topic that came up in my chat today was how it seems like we're still kind of missing the numbers for like juniors and seniors that we had pre-COVID. And I think a lot of that has to do with COVID. Like post-COVID, someone doesn't just want to show up with their kids at like a regional that they had to drive 4 hours to or fly to or something, having not played any local tournaments. So hopefully we start to like see that growth again in the juniors and seniors division where, okay, now there's a lot of places and um, a lot of places where the kids can go play locally now that COVID's done with for a while now, and then that can get them more into the game, and we'll hopefully see a little bit more growth in like the juniors and seniors numbers moving forward. And these kind of things will also kind of contribute to that as well, right? Like just getting more people playing the game overall. I actually wonder, like, if that doesn't happen though, like if we don't see kind of a resurgence in juniors and seniors numbers, do you think we ever? I don't think we'd ever cut both divisions out, but do you think we ever go down to just two divisions, like Masters and
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've thought for a while that a 2 division system would be better.
yeah, I me
Like
too.
under 13, over 13, something like that is like
Yeah,
I think an acceptable break. I mean, that's like a lot of esports you have to be 13 years old to compete in.
yeah,
So I think that's like a just kind of a natural break where I think that has to do with like cash prizing laws or something like that. So
that would make
um
sense. Yeah, well,
but
and
I know
then
Pokemon doesn't give cash pricing to anyone under 18, so I don't know, maybe their policy is just different, but
yeah, I know in Magic there is like a kids division, but they can choose to play in the just general tournament if they want to. I think that should also be something we see with if that change ever happens where we go down to like two divisions. I think if a kid who's whoever old that might be 10 years old is like, nah, I want to play in the Masters division. I don't think that would be a bad thing. You know, that's where they're
also
headed anyways. Eventually,
like, I don't think numbers are necessarily doing bad in juniors and seniors. I don't know what the numbers were at pre-COVID, but, I
I guess that
mean,
would be something to
pretty
check.
much all regionals have been over 100 players, the, like, last few North American regionals, and I'm pretty
Well,
certain Pittsburgh is gonna well surpass that in both
yeah,
divisions.
I mean, I don't remember the last time a junior event had over 100 besides ICs, right?
No, I'm pretty sure. I
At
could just be
regionals?
misremembering now. Yeah,
I
but
don't
I'm
think
pretty
juniors have been
sure.
breaking 100 at regionals. I could be wrong. There's nowhere to look up this information either because no one tracks any. Not that there's like a real reason to, of course, but like it's really hard to find these numbers. For sure. But it definitely isn't growing at the ratio that the Masters players are for sure. Not that that probably should be expected because obviously like at an age capped tournament, there's like less people to potentially play in the juniors or seniors. Once you reach a certain age, you just become a master, and then there's way more people who are Masters players, of course. But um, yeah, I don't know. I guess it did feel that way, but maybe it's not quite as I mean, I don't know. You have like kids showing up to like League Cups and League Challenges, and there's like one junior or one senior though, which
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. A huge part
and I feel like that used to be
of
less of that
I
pre-COVID.
feel like a lot of parents who are kind of in the know about getting their kids their invite kind of just count on the fact that they're going to get 390 points from cups and challenges. Like they're going to be able to max cups and challenges just because of like
Usually
low
happens
numbers.
for the
And it's
more
different in every
competitive.
area. I think there are some areas where there's, always going to be a decent little bit of juniors, but um I mean, I know a couple of kids that I coach, like very common that there's two other kids there that like don't have competitive decks at their local tournaments.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I guess there's a lot more of that as well, for sure. Where the kids just show up have no clue what's going on. They're playing the league battle decks or whatever.
yeah.
Were you able to find any
Um
numbers?
uh I'm just trying to find I actually might be able to find it because I know Arcanine tweets out results, and on that, when they tweet out results, like it shows the list of players. It's like on the roster. So I think I might be able to find it. But I just have to find an Arcanine tweet, and they tweet a lot because there's all this stuff happening constantly. But I mean, I guess like with while I'm looking for this here, um, it seems like the products that they're giving to people at these demo events at League. It says you can get a 30 card demo deck featuring Lucario V, Umbreon V, or Greninja V, which sounds a lot, and I imagine is the same. It sounds a lot like, and probably is just the same as the decks that are given to people at the Play Lab. So if anyone doesn't know what the Play Lab is, it's kind of this like traveling um how to play Pokemon TCG setup that they've taken to the international championships, but it also goes to a ton of big like gaming events. Like it's at the PAX East and West events. It's been at Go
Origins?
Fest and been at Worlds, all these things. And from what I've heard, I've never been to a PAX. You've been to PAX East in the past, right?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, like I mean, a lot of those events are just like waiting in lines to demo certain things.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the Play Lab is consistently like the longest line at these events.
It's pretty dope. Yeah, I've actually never seen this before. They have this at the ICs?
Yeah, yeah.
Like this exact setup with all this
Yes.
stuff? Oh,
Yes.
where? Where do they hide it? I've never seen this before.
They've got space.
No, I know. I'm just like, I've never seen it. I don't know where they're putting it.
Oh, they do it. I don't know. They make it
That's pretty
happen.
dope to hear. Yeah. I mean, I've been to PAX before. It is a lot of waiting in lines. I don't really recommend it overly, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those kind of conventions. I like being able to do stuff. But if you do go there, I mean the place like when I went to PAX, like that's not true. I guess I would go back, but I would specifically the things I you would want to go do is like play indie games and board games. Because there's no one waiting in lines in any of those kind of areas. But if you ever any of the big stuff is like yeah, it's like waiting an hour to, play for like 10 minutes or whatever it might be. So yeah. But yeah, if you're into like board games and indie games, then it's a pretty good time to be honest. Yeah, it's cool to see. I didn't know it was that big the Play Labs thing. Yeah, it seems like they're definitely invested into trying to get new people in the game in different ways and not just fully relying on kind of the game store funnel to people figuring out how to play the game and how to play Pokemon and getting into the scene.
Okay. So I did find one result real quick. I had to manually count it real quick because for some
Well,
reason on
it can't
on
be that many if you
Arcanine,
manually counted it.
it doesn't tell you. This is from Milwaukee this past year. And I already also even just forgot the number, but it was like 94 or something like that, 93, 94. So over
Okay, okay.
90. And I actually, now
It's
that
close.
I've got that number in my head, remember talking to some parents a few times this past year about numbers at tournaments, and it was like there was several tournaments where it was like 95, 96, which was annoying because 100 players was the kicker for top 32 to get points.
Mm.
So it was like pretty annoying that they were just like a couple players away from the top 32 getting championship points at those events. But again, another thing that they addressed this year, um, they updated all of the kickers to make them like just kind of make more sense in line with like tournament numbers. So like for top 32, now the kicker is 80. So if there's 80 people in the tournament, top 32 will get points. It was 100 last year.
Yeah, they definitely upped it a lot. It's like, yeah, it's like sometimes it's close to 50%. Not all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
for top 512, it is literally
Yeah, it's
50%.
50%. Yeah.
This is also
I
going to
think
be so this
that's
weekend in Pittsburgh. It's going to be the first time that someone gets top 512 points at a Pokemon tournament.
those 20 championship
There's going to be
points.
256 people that get 20 points.
Let's go. I mean, hey, if you're only going to what's the best finish limit? 6? If you're only going to
Six,
like
yeah.
6 regionals, those 20 points, they will count.
They
They will
will
count.
count.
Maybe you don't have a maybe you have a did not finish as well. So yeah, they will count in those situations. So it's better to get them than not. I wonder if like yeah, never mind. I mean, is it gonna be I guess it's gonna be I don't know, it's just like 20 points. It's gonna be like more cutthroat that last couple rounds of the tournament. People are gonna be sticking out
I
a little
mean,
bit
what do
longer,
you
I guess.
need to get top five? I mean, I don't know. If there's 1,800 people at this tournament,
Not gonna have 1800. We'll be less than that, I think. We got
1,700. I mean, it's
I
gonna
don't
be
know,
like
bro.
1,700. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it'll be around 17, I think. Because it's what, 22, almost 22 right now? 21. It's
depends on
21.
the no shows and stuff.
100 juniors, 150 seniors.
Some no
Um,
shows.
so 19, 200 no shows. Yeah, 17, probably around 17.
I don't
I
know
don't
that
know.
there'll be 200. That's a lot of no shows for
Is
200.
it? See, I want to know the percentages for. We should have like. I wanted to actually like. Can we look at numbers from? You can't look at like pre-registered numbers, can you? On RK9? Can you?
No,
Maybe you
I
can.
don't. I
Hold up.
don't think so. Maybe somewhere. Maybe somewhere.
Yeah, because I would want to know like the registered number and then how many players. I mean, let me write down this number right
Okay,
now, and
okay,
then
and we
we
can
can
come back
see.
to it next time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You'll have to count the juniors and seniors manually
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
but
Manually go in.
I can like go back. I can see like NAIC, but there's no information about numbers at all here. Yeah, so you have to like, and I'm gonna write this number down right now before I forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like the registered number of masters is over 1,800, but it'll just be a question of
Yeah.
how many actually
I
uh
guess maybe you're right. Maybe there won't be
show.
as many no show. I mean, there's gonna obviously people who like, yeah. How many people are like registering and then being like last minute be like, I don't really want to drive the 2 hours to Pittsburgh today, right? Or
It'll happen to
I
someone,
mean,
right? It'll happen to
yeah,
someone.
someone booked their flight. They booked their flight. Some people have canceled flights, so that might be a couple.
Yeah,
Um,
travel issues for whatever reason, right?
Yeah, you're
But
right, maybe
yeah,
it's not that many. Once
we'll
you
we'll
commit
we'll have
70
to
bucks, you're maybe
we'll
in.
do the research. We'll report
Yeah.
back, keep everyone updated on what exactly happens. But yeah, overall, just cool to see Pokemon still like investing more and getting more people to play the game because I think it is one of the bigger issues with I mean, compared to I've said this many times before, but like anyone can tune into a VGC stream and kind of immediately grasp what's going on, right? Everyone's played a Pokemon game. Everyone understands how Pokemon battling works.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever played any MOBA game can tune into Unite and kind of understand what's going on. Pokemon Go may be a little bit more confusing, but like pretty similar to just a regular Pokemon battle. But if you
Yeah.
don't like know what's happening in the Pokemon
Well, everyone's
TCG,
played Pokemon Go, like,
yeah,
literally,
sure,
it's such a
sure.
popular game.
No, they haven't battled though necessarily, right? Like,
You battled the Team Rocket people or whatever, like,
yeah, yeah,
close
yeah,
enough.
yeah. That's
You've
fair.
tapped your screen to beat a Team Rocket balloon or whatever. To
Take down the grunts.
be honest,
Team Go Rocket.
Shemansky might actually already be aware of the number of, like, registered versus the missing what would you even call it? Absent? Uh,
No shows.
no-shows, yeah.
Yeah, just no shows.
What the percentage is, like, on average.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it'd probably
Yeah,
be
I'm sure
around
that
what?
organizers definitely like know those types of numbers,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I'm sure. Because they wanna work with that number probably as well, right? Like, you wouldn't mind
right.
opening up the extra 5% slots just because they're not gonna show, and then I wonder if that's, like, one of those things, though, where it goes too far and then everyone shows up one time and there's not enough tables? It's like, you know how flights, like,
I
overbook?
wonder if I'm allowed to. I don't know. Probably not. But
Let's
like,
just go with no. The fact that you just questioned that right there. I'll
sure.
save
Never
you right now,
mind.
Chip, and I'll just say let's not. Um, but yeah, I wonder if it's like, flights how flights overbook all the time, like on purpose. They know they're selling 120 seats that they have 100 seats for on planes. Not maybe that quite that many. That's 20% a lot, but you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying. I wonder if that's similar to like at Pokemon regionals. They're like, well, we only got venue space for 3,000 people. Let's put out 3,200 tickets, and you know, I mean that's good business right there. I wouldn't blame them to be honest. But yeah,
All
unless you
right.
had anything else, we got some new cars to take a look at.
Yeah, we do have some new cards and some pretty interesting ones as well. So a lot of talk really around one, I think, main card that's been the point
Hmm.
of discussion, but it wasn't the only thing revealed. There are quite a few cards here. So we'll start. I don't know if there's anything super crazy in these upper cards.
Now let's just talk about the minimum or the minin real fast. It's
Yeah,
got
sure.
the 70 HP, the body pulse ability. If you have Plusle in play, whenever your opponent attaches energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So we've seen this ability before. So I just wanted to ask you, Chip, do you think this will ever be good? We've seen this ability so many times. Currently, there's a Radiant Charge Bug that does it for V Pokemon, I think, exclusively.
Yeah.
The when your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to a Pokemon, take 20. It has never been good. I think the most now, I've been playing the full time in the Pokemon TCG's
Yeah,
history.
I was gonna say.
The most effective one that I think I've ever seen was the stadium that people played in plasma decks to was it I forget what it was called. Frozen City, I don't know. But you played it because Blastoise loaded a bunch of energy on their Keldeo. They put a bunch of damage on their Keldeo to be able to knock out your Lugia, and you could like swing back with Lugia and get like the extra prize knockout. But
Azul's
um,
old school knowledge is
oh,
maybe
my lack
not
in here.
where it's has been. No. So there was one iteration of this type of ability that was pretty good back in 2005.
All right, I didn't play back then, so
And that is Dark Ampharos. It has the Darkest Impulse Pokebody. As long as it is in play, whenever your opponent plays an evolution card from his or her hand to evolve one of his or her Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So I did also, by the way, misremember this. It's a little different because it's when you evolve versus attaching energy cards. But
oh, that's not the
so
same, Chip.
it is not the same. So I will
Yeah, all
apologize,
right.
redact, and exit
Redact.
out of this tab
Do you
of
think it'll
Dark
ever be good?
Ampharos.
Like we've seen this so many times. We just had Radiant Charge-a-Bug. What? Why don't they make it a little bit stronger, or a little bit more convenient? Like I just want to see one of them be good once. Like I don't think this one is it. You need 2 Pokemon on your bench for your opponent to take 20 damage counters when they attach an energy.
What
Like
is the condition for Charjabug right now?
it has to be a V Pokemon, and then it takes 20, I
Oh, yeah.
believe. Yeah, dude.
I
Even if
mean, but it's
Charge-a-Bug
like
was
if they
any
just made it like
Pokemon,
a blanket, if it was just like a one basic and put it in play, like would it be too good? Would it be too annoying? Probably not, right?
I don't
If it
think
was
so.
like
Like Charge a Bug wouldn't be good if it said any Pokemon right now.
yeah, yeah. If it because it's a one of card, right? But like, what if it was? But it would be too good if it was like mine but it was just the mine and you could have like four of them in play, right?
I don't know. Would that be too good? That'd be kind of sick. That'd be
It's 80
sick.
damage, but it's four bench spaces, I guess.
Yeah, no one has 4 bench spaces to give up. Literally can't do that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess, like, and Radiant Charge Bug, maybe they were thinking ahead and like, oh, Radiant Charge Bug will be too good against Excalibur, Chi and Pow when it comes out. Like
Nope.
maybe,
Pokemon V.
but I think that would be a cool tech card for a matchup to include all of a sudden, right? Maybe I
Sure,
don't know.
sure.
So I don't know.
Like
I'm just curious
Frozen
what you
City back
think.
in the day.
Yeah, Frozen City. Is that what it's called? I think it's called Frozen City. I think it's
Yeah,
called
yeah,
Frozen
it's a
City.
stadium card. It was used as a
Yes.
Blastoise counter.
Yeah, because I played Plasma Lugia that year. I played 4 Frozen City for the Blastoise matchup because I was like I was like I need a stadium. Blastoise is really popular. All right, 4 Frozen City. I think it was 4. I don't remember. I don't remember why I wanted to counter stadium so bad either. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
four. I mean, you did not want a Verbank to stay in play, I guess.
yeah, that'd be one I think. Um, but yeah, I don't know. They've given us it so many times and it's never been good. I mean, maybe they don't intend it to be good, but why do they keep giving it to us? And why can't it just be good once? I just want it to be good once. You know? I don't
Well,
know.
it's probably not going to be mine.
No, I don't think so.
We do have a Hoopa EX, which by the way, Azul, I gotta say, in the podcast comments last week, you caught a lot of flack for not knowing the Hoopa on the guess the flavor text.
Oh,
There
did
were
I? I
so
didn't
many
read the
people who were like,
constants.
I knew it right away. I saw like
Well,
more
that's
than a
different
normal
than
amount of comments of people saying like, I knew right away.
I mean, a lot of people play the video games and stuff. You know, their lore is a little bit further along than mine. I have no Pokemon lore. Even just watching like the animes and stuff, I'm sure offers some decent amount of background to Pokemon like that. I don't do any of that. So yeah, I just play the cards. That's it. That's all I do is play the cards. But yeah, Hoopa EX 220 Terra Pokemon. So it's got that really cool, interesting Terra attribute. For 2 Dark Energy, it's got the Energy Crust, 50 damage times the amount of energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon. So could be a cool counter card, but it is a fighting Pokemon with a Dark type attack. So Dark Patch doesn't work on it. So that's awkward for it, at least initially, unless we get some other stuff to work with Dark Energy. And then Dark 200. This Pokemon can't use Scoundrel Fist during your next turn. So I think the first attack would be like the value here to gain in like a specific matchup, but
Yeah.
there's no real efficient way to set it up right now, I don't think. It's a little ways away, of course.
Yeah, I don't think well no, this will be in Paradox
Oh,
Rift or
probably will
whatever.
actually, yeah. So,
So
well, I keep thinking of like 151 as being like a major set release, which it's not, but I think we might like 151 is I don't actually know. I think 151 would have been more impactful if we actually got it before Obsidian Flames, but now that we're
yeah.
getting it after Obsidian Flames, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have. We'll see.
Yeah, Hoopa seems very, very meh. Um, yeah, this card's not very good. I was just quickly reading the Thievel here. We'll go
Hold
on
on.
to
The
you want me to
Thievel,
read
all
it?
right. All right. So this would be something we don't really see in Pokemon very much as far as like a type of deck goes. But like imagine if someone judges you and then hits you with Thievel. That would be pretty annoying, right? Now, is it
I
going to
mean,
consistently
if
be
they
good
hit
enough to make
something.
well, yeah, but like I don't know, just like kind of like a tempo play where you like limit your opponent's resources as much as you possibly can during your
Yeah,
turn.
but
Since
that's
the
so
Thievel's
much
ability,
deck space commitment and also so much card play
I
commitment
know,
too.
but I just think like that style of deck would be cool to see in Pokemon where I feel like it doesn't really exist in Pokemon, but I feel like it exists in other card games. So
So for
Thievel,
anyone who just so we get it out there real
yeah,
quick, the Thievel that we're talking about, it has the ability Sneaky Snatch. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand
Thievel
to
no
evolve
thieving.
one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand, choose 2 energy cards you find there, and have your opponent shuffle them into their deck. So,
Yeah, I'm
like,
just
I mean,
saying like
similar type effects have been good in the past. Like Team Skull Grunt was a good control card for a while, but that discarded the energy cards, and it was a
true.
supporter card. This requires you to bench and nick it and then evolve it into Thievel. I agree with Azul. You know, it would be cool if there was some sort of tempo play type deck that could do something like that, but it's just not. You know,
The problem is if your
with
opponent
with
has a
what the
research,
card
they
pool
didn't
looks
care.
like, it just isn't going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. It would have to be like a more like um utility supporter based format where it's like you're playing a Skyla for a turn to get a specific item, or like back when we had baby search stuff like that. But now you're just like, okay, research, draw a fresh 7, get my energy back. So
Okay. So sorry that that I almost skipped the Thievel Azul. I did not
Alright, keep
realize that.
going.
And then we've got Golden Go EX, definitely the best card here that we're going to talk about today. There are a few other ones we'll go over real quick, but yeah, Golden Go has the ability bonus coins. Once during your turn, you may draw one card, and if this Pokemon is in the active spot, draw two cards instead. And then it also has the Make It Rain attack for just one
Make it
metal energy.
rain.
It does 50 damage, and then you discard any number of basic energy cards from your hand. This attack does 50 damage for each card discarded in this way. It's a stage 1, 260 HP metal type Pokemon. Also worth mentioning real quickly, there are two Gimmighoul here, but one of them does have Call for Family. So anytime there's like an evolving basic that has a Call for Family attack, that instantly makes the evolution line that much better, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Golden Go does seem solid. And I think like you're gonna be like theoretically like there's a lot you can do with this, like in terms of you know, what else you'd include in here. We
Yeah,
got
there's a
superior
lot of
energy
cards in the
retrieval.
format that work well with this.
Yeah, we got superior energy retrieval. We got energy retrieval. Is there a stadium that works with energy right now? Not really, right? But even then, like you have to find you have to have other ways to like get your energy initially. I think you'd probably play this with Chi and Pao, to be honest. Because you already want to like play probably a heavy switch count
Or
to switch between the golden goes. Oh, true.
Eldegoss here. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to two basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and then shuffle your
That's
deck.
true. I forgot about the Goss. I forgot about the Goss. Also, in 151, we are getting the Stage 1 tool card finally that reduces the damage that Stage 1 Pokemon take by 30. So you're looking at like an effective 290 HP there as well, potentially. Potential to one hit KO anything. Like, I don't know. It could be decent. It could be just kind of like a I mean, it's kind of like Chi and Pao with more HP, right? Don't have to play
It,
Stage 2.
it reminds me of
Really
this
cool.
Alolan Doug Trio from a few
Yeah,
years
it literally
ago.
is this
I don't know if
Pokemon.
you remember this card. Dude, I loved playing this
Gold
card.
Rush.
Also, this card is in my cube, and I love playing it in the cube as well. A lot of fun. Uh
60 HP. Pretty
he's a little
soft.
squishy, a little squishy.
Yeah, but definitely looks solid. I mean, it's one of those cards where like it looks solid, but if this wasn't good, I wouldn't be surprised. But it at least looks solid enough to be like,
I mean, the
dude,
fact it's like a good attack, like you can see the damage output there. It can
yeah.
one hit KO anything. Definitely it'll two hit KO just about anything. If you're
That's
getting set
what's
up, I guess. But then it also just has like built-in card draw to the card as well. Like that, it
I
just
mean,
I think the card would be mediocre if it just had the attack. But like the fact that it has this card draw built in as well, and like you
yeah.
can fill the board with golden goals and just if
Switch,
you
draw
have
two,
four in
switch.
play, you get to draw five cards every turn for free, right? Because you have
Yeah,
one in the
yeah.
active. And then if you're switching between them, you can draw even more cards potentially as well. Yeah, I think this card's pretty solid.
Yeah, and at the very least, if it's not like an actual competitive meta deck, that's what's so frustrating about Obsidian Flames, is you have to work so hard to try and make anything. Like I tried Vespiquen the other day, and it was just terrible. Like it was just so bad.
Dude, you were so hype on the Vespa
You
Quinn.
can't even play Toadscruel because it's bugged on PTCG Live still. Like, so we can't even try out the Toadscruel, and then that's kind of it. There was Vespiquen, Toadscruel, and Charizard. And Charizard's obviously like a okay meta deck, but Golden Go is one of those cards where it's like, okay, even if this isn't a meta deck and it's just terrible competitively, it's one of those things where it looks like you'll definitely be able to like play it and have fun with it, right? And like enjoy the experience of making a deck around it and not be miserable trying to make Vespiquen work or something, right? Like, which there was that's what's so frustrating about Obsidian Flames is there's just nothing in the set to even like make a cool meme deck where you have like a 50% win rate on the ladder. But Golden Go will probably be able to at least do that. A 50% win rate with Golden Go seems very
It's a
reasonable
lot
on the ladder.
harder to do that than it used to be. Like, I remember back when I was doing, like, the YouTube content grind back in, like, early Sun and Moon days, whenever a new set came out, I would make a video on every single one of the ultra rare cards in the set. Like, I remember
Sheesh.
I mean, and some of them were pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember me taking a long time to get good games with a, Toxapex GX deck that I remember this one taking forever because this card sucks.
And that's kind of the problem with like a lot of these newer EXs. And I think that will get solved. I think one of the problems literally in the current game is just Battle VIP Pass and Lost Box. Like that's such a it's just those cards are so like the cards and how they interact with other decks is so toxic. Like, we just need that stuff to rotate. At least Battle VIP Pass might slow down the loss on decks enough where it's like other things can kind of get their foot in the door. Um, but it's like I haven't even seen like I'm not. I don't think I like initially I was like thinking, okay, there could be something here with like Tyranitar, but like I haven't even ran into one on the ladder. Like no one's even like trying to make it work because it probably just gets obliterated by Lost Tina and Guardy and all this stuff. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's not even enjoyable.
You gotta
But
just
something like
hop
the
over to the
Golden Go,
casual ladder to try your silly decks, you know?
no, but it's so casual. It's too you can't have fun just beating up on a league battle deck. Like it's not fun. Like you want to be able to like the Golden Go deck. You could probably play that and like you can take some Guardies to the edge and get some games against Lost Tinas and stuff. So that's what I'm kind of excited for with like a card like Golden Go. But I feel like there's so much uh, Obsidian Flames just kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth for sure as far as that goes because there wasn't enough Golden Goes to be like okay you can continue to have fun with the new set. It was just so garbage.
And then I think of all the card reveals, there's really only one other card
This
worth
one I think is better than Golden Go. Actually, you said
talking
Golden Go
about.
was the best.
I don't know. Dude, I think Golden goes. I mean, you seem to think it's just fine. I think this card is going to be like good, really good. But I've been very
See.
wrong about that in the past. I remember thinking like, how could Zork V Star be like not a
Yeah,
tier
I
one
remember
deck?
that. It did get
Yeah,
top 8 at the first regional
yeah,
though. Like it
yeah,
was,
because the deck is so sick, dude.
No, but see, Zorak, see, that's what I want more decks like Zorak. Zorak was very close to being a good deck. It just wasn't quite there. It was so close. Kieran VMAX is something that somehow so many people played, and thing was never good. So like I just want more of those. Like that's cool when even these like not tier one, not tier two, not even competitive decks, but you can still like have fun and play with them up against, the competitive decks and like you can have a back and
And we're
forth with your
probably also
gameplay.
just in like a weird spot right now because it's like they're trying to introduce the EX era, but we still have these like really powerful high HP
Yeah, two prizers.
Vs and V
Yeah.
stars, right?
It
That's
literally is,
probably
yeah. It's Lost Box and
a
Battle
big
VIP
part of it.
Pass. We're so close, man. We're so close. And to be honest, if the game still feels the same way after Lost Box and Battle VIP Pass rotate, then I don't know. Maybe there's no hope. To be honest, maybe there's no hope. I'm not saying Pokemon's like terrible right now. It's just
Honestly, though, Azul, like I think if
I've
you're
been through some
a player who's
better
playing in
areas.
America, like you just don't have anything to complain
No,
about right
as
now,
far
though.
as
So
major tournaments go, it has nothing to do with the actual game state. Like I just know Pokemon has been in a lot better spots than it is currently, and I feel like the current problem card is definitely Battle VIP Pass. It's just such an unenjoyable card to play, and you kind of have to play it if you want to be like reasonably competitive, right? And
we
then
saw every
also,
single deck in top 8 of
yep.
Worlds had 4 copies of the card in their deck.
Yeah, and it's just like I hate the card. It's not enjoy. Every time I make a new deck, I always try and run it without 4 Battle VIP Pass, and 4 Battle VIP Pass almost always ends up in the deck by the time I'm done testing. It's like, well, yeah, I think you kind of have to include 4 Battle VIP Pass. It just runs better. It's more powerful this way. But this another card that might be powerful, or hopefully is powerful, is Zatu. And I thought this thing had to be in the active to use this ability, so my mind got a little bit blown. When I read it again, and it says once during your turn, you may attach a psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. It does have to go to a bench Pokemon. And if you do, draw 2 cards. So it basically has Shadow Rider VMAX's ability, if anyone's
Mhm.
familiar with that card. Catch psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. Draw the drawing 2 card effect is like going to be super strong in there as well. The question will just be, is this going to be another Flaffy scenario where Flaffy is kind of getting its come up now with Miraidon, but is this going to be like Flaffy's been around for so long and it just never had the attackers to really make it work competitively? Do you think they'll release some good attackers with the Zatu?
Well, it's just such a different. They're they're similar, but they're two very different cards, right? Like Zatu is draw power
Yeah,
and energy acceleration,
pretty good combo.
whereas Flaffy is energy acceleration and recovery, right? So it's like they're
Yeah.
both doing two things, but they're doing two similar but different things,
Draw
right?
power is generally more powerful. Is a more
Right,
powerful thing to
but it's
have.
draw power that requires something specific to make happen as
Yeah.
well. And it requires you to set up a stage 1 that's not doing anything besides getting your energy cards in play.
If they had a
So
really powerful attack, I think it
there's
would probably be too
listen,
good.
yeah, sure, but I mean, Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX has a really powerful attack and this ability,
Mm.
and it's not
It
very
wasn't that
good.
good. I mean, the only thing, yeah, that's true. The only thing that enabled Shadow Rider for the time when it was really broken was Gengar Mimikyu, to be honest. That's
Yeah.
like what put it over the edge. Before that, it was like solid. It was like solid um as well. It's really gonna expand it apparently, but I don't want to think about that. But I'm excited for the Zatu. Zatu looks sick.
Yeah, but you
I
know
hope
why
they
it's
release
getting
some solid
expanded.
attackers. Gengar Mimikyu, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Zatu for sure. It's such a cool, powerful ability. Hopefully, they give us some solid attackers, some interesting stuff to work with it. It's one of those cards as well that we might see for a while, and it can come in and out of the meta because it is just good with psychic Pokemon, right?
You know
So
where it's
as
probably really good though?
where
A GLC, buddy.
I mean, yeah, that's actually probably broken in GLC.
Yeah.
That and Malamar, yo, Psychic's about to have a come up in GLC. That's for sure. Whenever I played Psychic, it always felt like it lacked draw power,
Yeah,
but,
it definitely did. People were playing
Zatu's here.
friggin' Musharna in their deck as draw power.
That's not very good. Yeah, the
No.
Musharma is definitely not it, but with Zatu, with the power of
And
Zatu,
you've
anything's
got this
possible.
plus you've got Kirlia now.
True, true. Yeah, that could be pretty cool. I haven't played
Psychic
when was the last
GLC.
time you played GLC? I haven't played in
It's
so
been a
long
little
now.
bit. It's been a little
Yeah.
bit. I
It's
updated
actually
my
one of
decks
those
before Worlds, but I haven't played any of them.
you have one of each type, or what types
No,
do you
I have
have?
one of a lot of the types though.
Yeah. I've actually wanted
Um,
to go out of my way to get, like, 2 types of decks and constantly keep them updated as new sets release, but there hasn't been enough downtime where I felt like there's, like, something
yeah.
I really wanna
I mean,
commit
you
to, like, getting
certainly
back
own the
into.
majority of cards for all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I do have most of the cards that you would need, but, yeah, something I wanna kinda go to my way to do eventually at some point. Maybe if, like, Full Grip ever brings back, like, the 1K tournaments
The
or whatever they
problem
did.
too is like, I mean, I really do enjoy GLC for what it is, but I've just got so many different ways to play Pokemon, man. And then like I'm trying to play some other card games a little bit here and there too. Like I built a One Piece deck. I bought some more Kana cards this past weekend. It's like when I have
Dude.
time to sit down across from someone and
Game
play
hopper, bro.
a
You're a
game,
game
like
hopper, bro.
GLC is like a fine choice, but I've got, 100 retro decks as well. I've got a two-player cube. If I'm getting more than two people together, if I'm getting eight people together, I'm trying to do a main regular cube. Like,
Mhm.
uh, I just got too many options.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yo, retro decks is something I haven't played in a while, but I would definitely be down to play some retro decks.
Oh, bring some
Um,
retro decks to Pittsburgh. What format you want to play?
I don't really care to be honest. Just whatever. Just like I just like playing Pokemon in different formats. That's why like I always say my
I'm gonna
favorite
bring
format is the next
2016
format.
Worlds. We'll play Trevenant versus Vespiquen Vileplume. You ready?
No, well, not that. Do you actually have that?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
good. I was like, it's so funny because like I've joked around with people before when like I was like when people are like making old decks for like formats like 2019 and stuff like that. Or it's like, bro, you don't you want to go back and play Pikarom and Mewtwo tag?
But see that something like
I'm trying
that,
to go a little bit
is
further back. I'm trying to
that's
go a little further back for sure.
something like that. I think would be fine. It's whatever. But I actually have a funny story kind of about this. For the 2010 format, I have a Gliscor Spiritomb deck built. So for anyone who doesn't know how this
Mm,
deck functions, basically the goal of it is every single turn, Gliscor level X has a Pokebody that when you level up your active Gliscor, you leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed, and
and
then the
poisoned, I think.
Gliscor has an attack that returns it to your hand. You promote a Spiritomb, which has a Pokebody that says your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. So it's basically just like a lock deck that you paralyze your opponent's active. You send up a Pokemon that says they can't play item cards, so they can't play Switch or Escape Rope or what point at the time to get out of it, and then they're just stuck. It's a lock deck. And I remember playing old decks with Michael Slutsky one time, one of our friends, and he was playing again. Like I just had like my 2010 decks with me or whatever. Someone was playing that against him, and he was just looking at his hand, looking at the board. He was miserable, and he just looked at me. He said, "Chip, why did you even build this? Who is gonna want to sit here and play against this deck like ever?"
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Gliscor deck was actually really, really good, but you actually couldn't. There wasn't enough time to actually win
Yeah.
games. That was one of the
'Cause you're
problems
only
with the
doing, like,
deck.
30 damage a turn or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. You're doing 30 damage a turn, eventually drawing a single prize card. Like you have a lot of actions on your turn to constantly keep up your loop. So yeah, I think it was one of the problems with the deck was actually time constraints. Because back then it was best of one, 30 minutes as well, I believe.
Well, also,
Um,
there was Gardevoir that had, like, the teleportation of Poke Power, right? Like, that's kind of a problem for it.
True. Maybe you just lost the Gardevoir as well. I didn't think about that. One last card we can take a look at here real fast if you scroll to the bottom.
Sure.
Just for the point of talking like power creep terms, Volcanion is back. Literally almost the exact same baby Volcanion we've seen in the past, but
Oh, I did not even realize
yeah,
this.
it only has 10 more HP.
No,
And
it's the
that's it.
same. It's the same amount of HP.
No, it's 120. I think the other one has 120.
No, no, it's
You know what I
130.
mean?
The old one's
All right,
130.
hold up. Let me cook.
Wait. How much do you want to bet?
Ah,
How much you want to bet?
that's tough. I played a lot of Volcanion
You did.
too. All right, we'll bet 5 gifted. So if you ever stream again,
I'm never gonna stream again.
where is it? Dude, it does have 130. What? The other one has 120 though, right? The one from
Yeah,
like Green Zard and stuff like that.
yeah.
Okay. Dude, I thought I had 130. But the second attack is different actually.
It is different. It costs
It
one more
actually
energy, but it does 20 more damage.
wow, what a trade-off, bro. What a deal. From 100 to 120 for an extra energy. Bro, they did not scale this card up very well at all. But maybe we do have the Rapidash. What are you building up? I guess that's the question. Like, what is this building up towards?
Yeah,
I don't know
see,
what
that
it's
was the
building up
thing with
towards.
this Volcanion. You could build up the Volcanion EXs that were powering up your attack anyway, right? You're not
Yeah.
really gonna want to build up Rapidash to do 60 damage, right?
Yeah,
It's a
I don't
stage
think so.
one.
Hey, not just 60. We could get up to 180 if we have 4 heat boosts active. So, no.
Well,
Rapidash is like another card that it seems so powerful, and it was just never even like,
yep.
man, like the ability's cool. It being on a stage
Dude,
one feels
Fire
bad
has
back
a
then,
lot
but
of support right now. Fire, like, there's a lot of good fire cards. We're just missing like the one
something.
thing. We do have Charizard, I guess, now, but it's like not a fire deck, right?
It's not, no, yeah.
Like it is, but it's a fire deck in the sense of
You have to play
literally
Charmander.
everything except the
If you
Charizard, I
didn't have to play
guess.
Charmander, you wouldn't have any fire Pokemon in your deck.
But you would have fire energy still.
Yeah, you'd have fire energies. I
That's
would
what I'm
consider
saying
it a
is like the
fire
weird
deck.
thing about these Terra Pokemon.
Oh, you do not like the Terra Pokemon
Well, I
typing
mean, you
thing.
even pointed it out whenever we were talking about the Hoopa, right? Like, oh yeah, cool, it's this Hoopa, but
Oh, okay, yeah, but I was just kind of putting that out there as like you won't be able to use Dark Patch with it, but like I assume they're doing this for a reason. I assume like they have some like play around it. Like I assume they're not just like and Hoopa's fighting type and
I wonder if
set
that's how it
ship it.
works. They just roll a dice or something, and they're like, "Ooh, this is gonna be this type. Here we go."
It could be. That'd be funny. Well, but like Charizard definitely has a theme, right? There's been Dark Charizards in the past. Like,
Sure.
is Hoopa's like alternate or other typing fighting? Like,
No,
is it what is it? A ghost?
it's a psychic dark type.
Okay, so fighting is kind of off the wall for that one. What about Tyranitar being lightning type? Does that make sense?
Uh, Slightly because of Iron
The dark is
Thorns.
the Dark Charizard the only one that they're going for with some kind of theme here?
Iron Thorns, the paradox version of Tyranitar, is a electric type.
Oh, but the teacher, but the one we have is not a Paradox Pokemon.
No, no,
Oh, okay. Iron.
it's
Are
just
we gonna get
regular
this
Pokemon.
eventually then as a Paradox Pokemon? Iron Thorns? Probably, right?
Potentially.
Yeah. I assume we're gonna get all of them because they're not that many, right? It's like what 12 or
Yeah,
something.
but we didn't get all the megas, right? Like back when megas existed.
True. But
We
couldn't
never
anything
got a
Mega back in the day?
mega Pinsir. Dude, they
Oh,
my boy Pinsir did him dirty.
looks sick.
We didn't get a Mega Lopunny until Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. Same with Sableye.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't really matter. It's like okay,
It
sure, but
wasn't
you
the
never
Mega
gave us the
Pokemon,
Mega.
but it like was a Mega Pokemon, Mega Sableye.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't even think. That's when I learned about Mega Sableye being a thing. Was this card? I was like, wait. I was like, is this a wait? Is this a Mega? We didn't get the Mega though. We didn't have the Mega.
Nope.
Yeah. I guess I can't fit everything that's in the video games into the TCG. Although maybe they could. There's so many filler cards in the Pokemon
They just
TCG.
gotta pick better filler cards.
Yeah, just give us like a Mega Sableye. Just be instead of like worrying about how to fit it into the meta, make it suck, but like put it out there. Give us the Mega Sableye. Make Iron Thorns suck, but give us the Iron Thorns. Where are the Iron Thorns?
Well, lots of cool, exciting new cards coming out. Azul seems to think Zatu's better than Golden Go. I think Golden Go's a little bit better. We'll look
They're
back at
both cool.
this.
Well, Zatu is definitely way more potential for
Oh, he's
longevity, right?
backpedaling. He's
Well, Zatu has
backpedaling.
way more
He
longevity
knows
for
Golden Go's way better.
no way. Well, on release maybe, but like Zatu's potential in the long run is like way higher, right?
Azul and I have this. Well, we don't really have a bet going, but like we've both talked about this. Whenever Obsidian Flames rotates out of standard, and you look back at the history of um, the set's
Yeah,
playability, which of the two cards will have been more played, Pidgeot EX or
or
Cleffa?
Cleffa.
And Azul says Cleffa. I say Pidgeot, and I think it's like gotta be Pidgeot for sure. But
Yeah,
Azul
there's
seems
definitely
to
more
think
potential for
literally
Cleffa to be in
every
more
deck is going
decks.
to play Cleffa in the future.
Dude, I put Cleffa was like the MVP of the Vespa Queen deck. Okay, so
Dude, you
like,
said the deck sucked.
yeah, but Cleffa was cooking, man. +4, +5. Like, I wasn't doing anything else on my turn one, anyways. We were cooking with Cleffa. Yeah, the Cleffa was definitely MVP for sure.
I mean, Mew
It
is
felt good.
certainly better in that deck.
Mew?
Yeah,
No, dude, I need grass energy, bro. I can't find him. There's no bench
true.
space for the Eldegoss.
All right. Well, with all that being said, we'll move on to our opportunity to thank our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Of course, we do have to give a big thank you to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the Uncommon Energy podcast. We love working with them. We love their products. We're grateful for the partnership that we have. Of course, Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products and accessories on the market, including sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and so much more. You got your sleeves picked out for this weekend in Pittsburgh, Azul?
I have not quite yet, but I do have to choose from behind me. The blood reds are the ones in the front here, so I'm probably going to blood reds this time around. I keep saying that. That's because I have the
You
most of
do
those
keep
though.
saying that.
But yeah. But if you guys
You,
did any sleeves for the regional coming up yourselves or any of the tournaments you're going to, cups, challenges, regionals, check out Dragon Shield over at dragonshield.com/webshop/US or EU, or literally anywhere else. Like literally, I'm sure you probably have a box of them in your closet even. So literally anywhere else you can find them, local game stores, Amazon.com, Walmart, you name it, they're there. Pick them up. Best sleeves in the game. And time for Guess That Flavor Text. Chip, it is my turn to pick a card for you. For anyone who doesn't know how Guess That Flavor Text works, I'm going to read the flavor text on a Pokemon card, and then Chip will have to try and guess which Pokemon that card and flavor text belongs to. If you get it right on the first try, you have 4 points. For each lifeline you use, you lose a point. There's 3 lifelines. What set the card is from? What stage the card is? Read an attack name on the card. Chip, are you ready?
I am so ready, Azul. Let's get it. Advancing my lead this week. Let's see it.
Blank's ability to see through objects comes in handy when it's scouting for danger.
Ability to see through objects. So that makes me think it could be like a psychic, maybe a ghost type Pokemon when it's scouting for danger. So, I mean, to me, scouting for danger, it's going to be like probably like a basic, of an evolving Pokemon, most likely. That's kind of what the vibe I get from this. Maybe not necessarily, though. Could it be something like, no, I was gonna say Sableye. It's got those, the jewel eyes. Like, does it use those to see through things? Let me go with some lifelines here. I do need a little help for sure. We'll go with what set the card is from to start with.
It is from Fusion Strike.
Fusion Strike. All right, let me hear the flavor text one more time.
Blank's ability to see through objects comes in handy when it's scouting for danger.
To see through objects. Let me have you read an attack name.
Thunderclaws.
Thunderclaws. So a lightning type Pokemon. Seeing through objects. I think there is a Thunderous in the set. That's the one lightning Pokemon I'm thinking of. There's a Toxtricity in the set, but I don't think it's Toxel or Toxtricity. Could it be Thunderous, seeing through the objects, like seeing through clouds, maybe in the sky?
Are they all in the sky?
The genies? Thunderous, Landorus, all them?
Yeah, I thought it was just
Yeah.
Tornadus that was like up there. Because Tornadus is like
No, they're
alternate
all
forms
they're
of
all
bird, right?
flying type Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are some weird ones.
They all have 2 forms.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like a genie form and then like a, you know,
What is
like
the other form of the purple one? Let's look that up now.
it looks like a turtle, bro. Have
Wait,
you
what is it
not
called
seen
again?
it?
What is it
Dude,
called?
it's
What is it
it's
called?
ridiculous. Let me pull it up
Well,
real quick for the
the one on
people.
the playmat is ridiculous as well.
Yeah,
Namorous, that's what it's called.
Enamorous,
Oh, I
uh,
see it now.
turtle form for anyone who hasn't seen it. Yeah, that's it
Dude,
right
this whole
there.
Pokemon is ridiculous.
All right, let's get back to the I mean, I don't know that what
Okay, go
stage
ahead.
the card is gonna help me here. Let me just have you read it one more time.
Blank's ability to see through objects comes in handy when it's scouting for danger.
Scouting for danger. And Thunder Claw or something like that? Thunderclap?
Claws.
Thunder Claws. Yeah, I mean, I think it's could it be like a Manectric? I don't think there's a Manectric infusion strike or an Electrike. It doesn't really sound like Thundurus, but I just don't know what else it could be. I'm gonna go with Thundurus. I don't think the stage is gonna help me, so let's just go with Thundurus and let's see, Azul, what happens?
I think it would have helped you a lot. I'll give you one more guess.
Ah,
It is a stage 2.
a stage 2? Thunder Claws, Fusion Strike. By the way, I feel like Fusion Strike is like your most chosen set on Guess the Flavor Text. I feel like you
I
are
mean, yeah, it's
always
come
in
up a couple
Fusion
times.
Strike.
Definitely come up.
Oh man. A stage 2 lightning type? Is this like ridiculous that I don't know this?
I thought I messed up when I realized there's only one attack on the card, and I had to say Thunderclaws. So I thought you were easily going to get it when I said that. I was like, well, I
Oh,
guess it's
dude, have
over.
I punted? How did I punt? I don't
I
know.
mean,
I'm drawing a big blank here. I'm gonna
I mean
feel silly, I guess.
the flavor text not like you not being able to get the flavor text with it. I don't think is like too unreasonable. It is Luxray is the card.
Oh,
I don't know. Do you feel silly? I don't think it's like that. I thought you would
I
get it
feel
when
a
as soon as I
little
said
silly.
Thunderclaws. Yeah, I mean, who knows about I didn't even know this card existed, to be honest. I had no clue this card even existed.
Oh man.
Fusion
It
Strike,
can see
Luxray.
through objects.
Apparently, he's gotta scout for that danger.
I don't know. Yeah, this one maybe I should have gotten this one. I don't know. I feel stuff. Why they print so many Luxray cards, by the way. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but they're
Yeah, there's a lot.
like even just in the Sword and Shield era,
It's
well,
like one
won't
of those
count like
Pokemon
reprints. So there's
I mean, it's
one,
probably a pretty popular Pokemon, right? I think they tend to do that.
yeah,
Like, there
one,
how many
two, three,
Mews are there?
four, five different ones, including the
Cool
V.
Pokemon. They're not very good, though, ever. I mean, we had
Well, they're
Luxray
always
Level
kind of
X back in the
interesting,
day.
right?
Yeah, they put a little work into well, the one from Fusion Strike is definitely not very interesting. But, yeah, there's definitely, they definitely always add a little bit to it, I guess. But, yeah, they're not very good ever. There's a lot of them though. There's a lot.
Yeah, I think this one is from like a starter theme deck type thing in Japan, but
Mhm. Oh,
to
it has that
release
it
it
does
over
have a little bit
here,
of a like, a weird artwork look to it too, I
yeah.
noticed. I was like, "This looks like a promo card or something."
Like, the whole
For sure.
evolution line is very boring. I think it's from a starter product. Like, Shinx
Oh.
has 2 attacks, 1 for 10, 2 for 20.
I mean, that's
Luxio has
kinda
2 for 50.
yeah.
Luxray has 2 for 90, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
definitely
it's just bread and butter, like, learn to play the game cards, you know?
definitely seems like it for sure. Alright, well, that was a fun Guess This Flavor Text this week. Chip
I'm disappointed, I'm
doubting his Pokemon
disappointed.
knowledge for sure. And to close out the episode this week, we're talking Pittsburgh, talking the meta in general, and we're going to be doing a little bit different than we've kind of done in the past. For those watching on YouTube, we will be going through a tier list and talking about each deck individually. Of course, we'll tell you where we're placing it in the tier list if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, and then talking through each deck that way kind of keeps everything more organized for us, more so than anything. So,
Yeah.
um,
And where
kick
we're
it
gonna
off.
be ranking these is kind of just, like, our opinion on how strong we think the deck is in the current meta, I think
Oh,
is, like
not for like Pittsburgh specifically. Like if we expect for some
yeah,
reason, like, well, Charizard, like
current
if we
meta counts as Pittsburgh, I think, right?
I mean, when you say current meta, if people are talking just X, whatever the set is, Obsidian Flames. But yeah. Like,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
we're doing it like based on like, well, if we think like Charizard, this is the most popular time Charizard's ever going to be because we don't think that deck's that good, but it's the most hype. It's the most hype it's ever going to be. That will like hurt, like Mew from being a better player, or something like that. Because Charizard's pretty good against Mew. But
Yeah.
like after Pittsburgh, if Charizard really is not a great deck and it's kind of exposed at Pittsburgh, then we'll expect less Charizard moving forward and so on. So this is
It's
like specifically
definitely
for Pittsburgh.
yeah, it's kinda weird too because it's like you have to balance the nuance between, like, how good you think the deck is in general but also, like, how played we think the bad matchups of it are going to be,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. That's
But
all
it's
that's, like,
like
what the meta
I feel like
prediction
a tier
is.
list normally is just, like, how good you think the deck is and doesn't really consider the
Yeah.
other parts, right?
Yeah, definitely. Most of the time, you're not too concerned with, like, well, if Guardy's really popular at Pittsburgh, I mean, or is Guardy's really popular just this week in general, it doesn't really matter. I still think this deck is really strong, and I'd still put it in S or whatever it might be, even if it has, like, a bad Guardy matchup or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go ahead and kick us off. Just which where do you wanna start at the top?
Yeah, I think we should start at the top. So we've got 11 decks here. It was just the top 10, but we looked at kind of the next few decks, and Azul wanted to put Palkia up here as well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, let's just start with the Giratina Lost Box. Definitely been the most popular deck online the last few
Yeah.
weeks. Um, Neither of us has been like the biggest fan of this deck, but I almost feel like I don't know what it is. It like feels better post Worlds than maybe it felt before Worlds, but the meta is like not that different. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I guess Paths of the Peak is a little bit better than it was, and we see the
yeah,
Tina players leaning into that a little bit more. There's, like, more there's also, like, more stuff like Miraidon's gotten really popular after Worlds as well, which I feel like Lost Tina is, like, fine against. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that's a good thing to see as well because it's like nothing drastic had to happen for the meta to just naturally evolve, right? That's what you wanna see, right? You
yeah.
wanna see a new deck on top, for whatever reason it might be, decks being played in different ways just because of how things are changing up. You want those, like, natural you don't need a set release for stuff to change and switch up, which is cool to see. But yeah, Lucina definitely gonna be the most popular deck of the tournament, I think. My guess is 15%. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. I mean, we're in a meta right now where you know, we're not seeing something like what we've seen in the past with like 25% Gardevoirs or 30% Lugias, right?
Yeah,
Um, it's going to
a lot
be
more spread
much
out.
more spread out.
A
So,
lot of 8 to 10 percenters for sure. But I think Tina will come out on top at the 15%. And as far as like builds and stuff go, like
what cards
uh
people should play?
I mean the heavy path to the peak. I think I haven't experimented with this, but I think some kind of build with like maybe just not playing Greninja, kind of like what Fouché played at Worlds. No Greninja at all. And like 4 paths. So like I think Fouché was a little bit ahead of the curve on that one. I think the no Greninja is something to look at. Most people are still playing the Greninja. The list that I saw the that I liked the most recently was Stefan's list that he tweeted out. I think after winning a League Cup. I like. It's weird because like I haven't tested the deck at all. And I've tested some Tina lists, but sometimes I look at a Tina list. Like when I looked at Henry Brands after NIC, no shade to Henry, but I saw the cross switchers, I was like, there's just no way, bro. Like that was literally my thought. But I saw Stefan's list. I haven't been a huge Tina fan, but I saw Stefan's list and I was like, ooh, I kind of like this. Like I just like I don't have to play any games with the deck. I just look at it. I'm like, I like what's going on here. I like the choices that are being made. I didn't have to like come to these conclusions myself, but I look at the list. I'm just like, okay, the 4 paths of the peak, the double Roxanne. Once you get to the point where you have 4 paths of the peak, is Greninja worth it, or should you just be more consistent about your psychic and grass energy? That's what I'm kind of like trying to come to determination with myself. But
I could see still playing Greninja, but
no
playing no
waters.
water energies. I've seen that a little bit
Yeah.
here and there online.
The threat of it is it's kind of nice to force your opponent to go get
Yeah,
Manaphy,
I
but
agree.
like sometimes a lot of times when I'm up against the deck, I feel like I'm just not gonna get Manaphy. They're not gonna have the Greninja play. And a lot of times they just don't. The deck doesn't function super consistently around getting off the Greninja.
It's kind of
It
hard to
can
find
do
one
it.
of your three waters early in the game.
Yeah, and generally you're not threatening like a turn 2 7 in the lost zone anyways. Like getting 7 in the lost zone as Lost Teen is like a little bit more difficult than something like a Turbo Lost Box. Like this list from Stefan does have the vacuum though, so you have a little bit more aggression through the lost zone with that. Um, but yeah, if anyone was wondering where I would start with Intino, it would just be to pick up Stefan's list and running. I like everything that's going on in it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely like 4 Jet Energy. I think Jet Energy is huge in
Yeah.
Tina right
The
now,
best
or
card in
just
the
like
deck.
in general for the deck to function. Um,
Yeah, anyone who's playing less than 4 jet energy is trolling. I don't know what that's all about. It's just like
yeah,
a better it's just like better than playing Switch, basically.
yeah.
Like, you should cut switch like, I would play 4 jet energy and cut switches before I ever cut a jet energy, I'm pretty sure.
So, Giratina Lost Zone box. What are we doing here? Let's just clarify one more time. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
how good we think the deck is combined with how good we think of a play it is based on what we think will be popular, right?
Yeah.
It's kind
So
of
I'm still yeah, I would still personally put it it's definitely up there. I think it probably goes I wouldn't put it in S tier, but I think it probably goes into A
A.
tier.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Maybe I would if I play with it more, I would still maybe put it in B tier, but I don't know. I like it's hard to deny its results, the amount of like good players who are playing the deck as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't put that much time into it myself, so maybe I'm just a little bit under tested with it, and
Oh,
that's why I'm not a big fan. But
one other card I wanted to ask your thoughts on, based on, friend of ours who did well with it at Worlds, Michael Pramawat, what he claimed the whole time was the MVP of his deck, like the whole weekend was the
Snorlax.
Snorlax. And Snorlax
I
still just is like not that popular in these online events. Like some people
yeah.
have it, but most don't.
I never tried out the Snorlax, but in the games I played where I didn't have Snorlax, I was like, I wish I had something where I could just punch my opponent that wasn't Tina. So
Yeah,
Snorlax just fits that role. So I would, yeah, I think I like the Snorlax, for sure. Another card that Ram played, I believe, was the third Super Rod, which I think does combo well with Snorlax. It's an easier to KO Pokemon that you're committing a lot of energy to. So I
sure.
think if you play the Snorlax, I think there's definitely a decent argument to also include the third Super Rod that I've seen a little bit from other people. I believe Pram had it in there as well. I'll just confirm that real fast. But yeah, the Snorlax, like without having tested it, it's definitely a card that I like realized. It's like something I wanted without realizing what exactly I wanted. But I think Snorlax exactly fits the role that I felt like I was missing when I was playing games with Lost Tina. I was like, I just want something to be able to punch my opponent hard
Yeah.
and not have to worry about setting up a Tina to do it.
Snorlax definitely feels solid to me as well. Pram was pretty light on the Path to the Peak, the 2 Path to the Peak.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need 4 Path to the Peak, to be honest. I think, like,
Three is probably comfortable,
3
I
is
think.
good, right? Maybe, but yeah, yeah, I'm a fan of this list from Stefan as well. And yeah, I think I like the Snorlax too. Feels like we're pretty aligned here on our thoughts on Tina Lost Box. Next up, though, we do have Gardevoir. So this is the deck Azul you played to the North American Internationals. Going into Worlds, you talked about Gardevoir being like a probably top choice for you. You ended up going with the Mew. How do you feel about Gardevoir right now here in Pittsburgh?
I think it's still as good as it hasn't. I think there's a couple decks in the meta right now, like Lost Box, Lost Tina, Gardevoir, and Lugia, where it's like no matter what, you can kind of always play them. I don't think anything's going to shift around the meta enough where it makes any of those decks unplayable, or basically like if you play it, you're expecting to go like 5-4 or something, because the meta is too hostile. So I think, yeah, I still think Gardevoir is the best deck in the format. Like I think it's the only S tier deck in the format, and it's not going to show up in the numbers it has been, despite being that. But I think it can basically beat anything. It doesn't really have any matchups that you're really like hoping to not hit. You're just kind of like, okay, I've got a game plan against literally everything, except maybe Rapid Strike. I guess Rapid Strike's like the one deck you're hoping to not hit. It's winnable, but it's really tough. But yeah, I think it is the standalone in the S tier still.
What kind of list do you like right now for Gardevoir? I mean, Tord's list is probably the first one most people are gonna look at. He got second place at Worlds, obviously,
Mhm.
with the Lumineon, the Forest Sealstone.
Yeah, I think I like that. There's a couple things that I'm like a little bit unsure, and like one thing would be like, do you want to play the Lost Vacuum? There's a little bit of flexibility there. Lost Vacuum, Third Stadium, maybe the Worker path's been a little bit more prevalent in the format with like Lost Tina and Miraidon and stuff like that. So you definitely want like 3+ outs to Path to the Peak. The Mirage Step Curlia,
Yeah,
I've been liking it so far because it just helps you recover from really slow starts, or
yeah.
specifically against matchups that have lost cities. Like you want to go out of your way to set up as much draw power slash ouch to Gardevoir in general as you can. So the
I
Mirage Step
think,
kind of helps you
like,
with that.
Mirage Step is probably best against the Lost City stuff, but right now, Lost City feels like not that popular, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like in the Palkia deck of
maybe
like
some
Mew.
Chien Pals have it, but Arceus is way less popular, and the most popular
Yep,
Arceus is Arctina, which plays Path. And then Mew feels like it's way less popular as well, which is
that's
really kind of the
true.
main deck that plays Lost City, I should say. Sorry. So
The other thing I'll say with
I
that,
also kind of like I feel like the downside, pretty much the only downside of this Curlia is, like, if you have a hand where you need to evolve and draw cards, and this is the only Curlia in your hand, right? Which
it
is
feels like
gonna
the
probably happen sometimes, but it's feels like such a low percentage of games, especially with the
yeah.
4 level ball in the deck, right? And 3 other Curlias, plus you could have supporters to draw you, like, other things, right? So,
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's too like I would either want to play that or heavy ball. Like I would play one or the other. Like you just want to be able to smooth out your openings a little bit better if you prize or ults. That's where heavy ball kind of covers you. The other thing would be if you only get out like 2 Ralts, that's where the Kirlia comes in, and all of a sudden your board gets a lot bigger, a lot faster. I think Kirlia is probably a little bit better than the heavy ball overall. I think it covers more bad start situations, and then also has the flexibility of being really, really good. And on top of that, is really, really good against decks that are running like a heavy loss city count. So I think I'd go with that over heavy ball. I would definitely play one. The Kirlia feels like the better of the two options.
I've also been a fan of the list that James Cox has been playing in like a ton of online tournaments. I think he's won like 3 really big online tournaments the last couple weeks with this list that just feels like a much more like streamlined, straightforward deck, right? It's just like 4 ofs a lot of the cards. But the main thing here in this list, there's no research and 3 worker and 2 collapsed stadiums. So pretty much saying you're always going to have an answer to Path to the Peak. Also has 2 Zacian in here and 2 Forest Sealstone to be just more aggressive in the early games. And there's no reversal energy as well, which is kind of a big deal, right? Most lists, I mean, Tor played 2 reversal energy. This list, just the 12 psychics, wanting to reach. I think the main reason is wanting to reach with Zacian quicker, as opposed to having to lean into like getting rare candy Gardevoir quicker.
Yeah, it's almost like you wanna have the option to almost, like, be the aggressor as opposed to be the one who's, like, kinda responding to your opponent. This list, when I played it, I did feel like I had a couple problems with, like, some ways that the game plays out. One was, like, not being able to be as aggressive with your boss's orders, because you only play 2 and you don't have the pal pad.
Yeah,
And then
sure.
the other was when you play worker, like, in comparison to, like, Tauros, there's only 1 more stadium pump that isn't worker, but that's, like, 50% increase, right? Um when you play worker, you can't play Iona or boss, and I definitely felt that quite a bit in that build. So like having more aggressive outs to stadiums that'll enable you to do other big plays like the boss or like the Iona I definitely felt like it was lacking in that build. But like yeah, the Australians have been playing that since NAIC, right? They've been
Yeah,
playing it for a while. I think Brent played it at Worlds. I think
yeah.
James didn't make it through day one, but I think James did play Arctina day one. So maybe went for like a little bit of different meta call there, and maybe would have played the Gardevoir list in day two. But I'm pretty sure Natalie and Brent played this exact build in day two.
Natalie
So,
played a Arceus like flying Pikachu Umbreon deck. I'm pretty sure.
oh really? Oh
Yeah,
okay. It was just Brent then from the Australian group that played it. But yeah, they've been that group's been sticking true to this Guardy list for a while now, and they're all really great players. So there's definitely something there. But yeah, those are like the two main things that came up to me there. I felt like the deck was lacking a little bit. And I have been like a pretty big fan of the reversal energy. It lets you like come back really aggressively. Where you can
yeah.
like, use your Mirage Step, fall behind 2 prize cards, then you get into the Brainwave Shiny Arcana Gardevoir, and they kind of can't ignore it. And then like they can't go like chase your Gardevoir EX or anything at that point. Otherwise you just keep attacking with it over and over again. So
Yeah, Brent
um
got 10th at Worlds with this list. I didn't realize he finished
okay.
so highly.
Yeah, I knew it was at least top 32. I just didn't know exactly
Yeah,
where. Yeah, right there. I don't think quite on a winning in situation, but like
I don't
one
think
up
so.
to top 16.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And it,
Gardevoir, where do
yeah.
we so I mean, I still think like I mean, I haven't played like the most with either of these decks, but I've watched James's stream when he's played this and um I just think like the more streamlined kind of I feel I feel what you're saying though about like the 2 boss, maybe getting a pal pad or a third boss in here. Probably pal pad would be a little better, right? But um or maybe it's less necessary to have pal pad because you're not researching your hand away, right?
That's what everyone says, but like that doesn't come up that often where you're playing a research and like losing a bunch of resources all of a sudden. It's just more so like the flexibility of Palpad to become the fifth
Whatever
Iono
you
or
need,
fourth
yeah.
Iono or that third boss. I don't know. It just opens up more lines of play for flexibility. Um, but yeah, I mean, Guardy's like so powerful right now. It's obvious you can play it a couple different ways and still succeed, right? So
So I think the big question here is matchup wise, where does it line up, right? Like against Lost Tina, I think it's pretty close, right?
yeah,
Guardy's slightly favored, probably, but it's probably close. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I feel like if Guardy was slightly favored against it, maybe Guardy would just be the most popular deck. So maybe there's a reason that Tina is the more popular of the two right now. People
yeah.
feeling like that Tina's the more favored one. It's probably just close. Gardevoir against Charizard does seem pretty sketchy, not gonna lie. So it's got
I
to be
don't
a
know. That one
question
is
of
felt
how popular you think Charizard's gonna be.
I think the reversal energy help a lot in like the Charizard matchup. I think
Sure.
like it's like a fine matchup overall. That's what I think. Like I said, like I think Guardy's only solidly unfavorable, and it might be slightly unfavorable against some of these decks, but solidly unfavorable is a Rapid Strike, and
Yeah.
everything else besides that is like 50-50 or favorite. It feels like maybe some of them are like 45-55s, and like I would need to put a little bit more testing to get to that conclusion. But the only thing that I feel like I'm really not want to playing against this Gardevoir is the Rapid Strike. Everything else is like fine.
I think that Gardevoir might be the only deck on this list that I feel like pretty comfortable and feels solid putting it in the S tier.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna put it in the S tier.
Maybe not. We'll talk about some of the other decks, I guess, when we
Yeah.
get to them. But
We can move on to the hype deck going to the tournament or the new deck going to the tournament. The Charizard. Pretty underwhelmed personally by it. I think it's solid and it's cool that we at least got a new meta deck in Obsidian Flames. At least one was something. It would have been bad to have a Vivid Voltage into whatever it was, the Vivid Voltage format experience. But I'm not really
yeah,
blown away by it personally. I mean, maybe have too many tiers on this tier list, but I would probably put it in the fourth tier. I don't know if anything's going to go lower than that, though. Actually, there's one that'll go lower than that. I'd put, yeah, Charizard in tier four, I think.
C tier, you mean?
C tier, yeah. I don't know if
What,
you feel
C
any different.
tier?
Yeah, C tier.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
What do
no,
you
I
think I
think I'm
said?
on board with that. Well, I don't know. Your C sounded like a D, so I just wanted to make sure.
D tier,
But
C
yeah,
tier.
I also agree. I don't like putting stuff lower than D tier personally. I
I
don't know
have
if I
one
can
deck that'll
edit
make it to
this.
D tier, but there's one
Okay,
deck
we'll
that I
talk.
would put in D tier.
Is it your Palkia deck you wanted to add? We'll see.
No.
No, I agree with Charizard C tier. I don't think Charizard should be that popular at Pittsburgh. It just is not that
8%?
strong. It's just not that strong. I think it will be played still. I think someone might do okay with it, but I mean, if we're looking at just like online event results, like here's the late night tournament that happened. Did it happen tonight, last night? Um,
Every night they're always
the
happening.
highest finishing Charizard is like 5-2-2. There's two of them at 5-2-2. Like if this thing isn't even at least like winning these online events or like having good placements in online events.
It makes a couple top eights. I haven't really seen it like take
It's
over
been a
anything.
minute though. It's been a minute.
It's the one thing I like to check on these online events when like a big one is going down. I like check the win rate of decks. That's what I always like to check.
Sure.
And I feel like Charizard is usually at the low 40s in terms of win rate.
45 in this
So
one.
yeah, we didn't actually. How popular do you think Guardy will be? What is your number for Guardy?
10%.
And mine is 12. But yeah, 12. I think it'll be 10. It'll be either 10 or on the high or higher than that.
Sure.
I think it'll be like an 8% deck or anything, which is my prediction for Charizard. I think Charizard is going to probably be around 8%.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Charizard as like a 5% deck, to be honest. I think Charizard
Really?
like
I
has
think a lot of
like
people are hyped. Like it's the only new
I
deck, so I
think
think there's like a lot
Charizard
of
has
hype
gotten
behind it.
like pre-exposed as like being not that good of a deck, you know, like before the tournament even
Pittsburgh needed to
happens.
happen like 2 weeks ago, and then it would have been. Yeah,
Uh
I could see
what do
that.
you think about this version of the deck? The Lost
It's
Box
so bad.
Charizard.
It is so bad, but
This is actually
it's
just a
not even
regular Lost
fun.
Charizard.
Yeah, it's so bad. I played around with it a little bit. It's miserable.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
yeah, not a
But yeah,
fan
so
of
Charizard,
it.
I agree. I think we can put it in C tier. I think it's a
Yeah.
fine deck. I don't think it's great though. And I don't even know if there's really much that could change in the future. Maybe like just like a rotation or something would make it a
We
lot
just need things
better.
to maybe slow down a little bit because like Charizard
Yeah.
wants time
No
to like
battle
build up
VIP
towards its big
pass.
attack. Yeah, you want to be able to use your big attack you want to potentially be able to use your big attack multiple times, right? But you like, maybe get it like once, and you're like, okay, that's it, 330. It's like, okay, the game's over. It's like, oh, okay, all right, I want to do that again, but I guess I can't. Um, yeah, maybe things just need to slow down a little bit. Um, all right, let's move on. One of the big decks for a long time, the Lost Box. I think it's pretty good right now. I think it's pretty solid. It's got a favorable Lost Tina matchup, which we're currently predicting to be the most popular deck. So that's got to be a plus
Yeah.
overall, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think your Charizard matchup is probably pretty abysmal.
It's pretty sketch. I mean,
Um,
I saw Shemansky playing a Tropius with some. It was a
yeah.
cool. It was a cool looking list. There was a crab in there, the crab V or whatever it does. So like, you have to get it.
Crabominable.
Yeah, Crabominable V. Never know
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
need that thing. Swing hard.
Yeah. I think your Charizard matchup just like has to be so terrible. Like I think you can beat Charizard if you
Second Tropius.
no, like if you just like the only way you beat Charizard is if they don't play the game. You know, like if you just like turn 2
So
ninja them and like cheese them out, they
they got a
prize
lot of
Manaphy or
HP.
something.
Yeah, they have a lot of, and the thing is, the Charizard deck is like decent sometimes going like turn two double triple candy, right? So like they're getting like the
Yeah.
whole squad. out there sometimes really, really fast, and you don't even have time to like Sableye pick apart their board at all, which you can usually do against like Gardevoir and stuff. So that's a rough matchup for Lost Box. Always had a rough time against the Rapid Strike deck, of course. And then like Lugia is a deck that's like, kind of a staple deck that hasn't been as popular recently, but that's also a tough matchup for Lost Box in general. So Lost Box, but you're pulling like a slightly favorable Guardy matchup, it feels like most of the time. Favorable against Lost Tina, which we're predicting to be the two most popular decks. So I think Lost Box is still a solid deck. You never know when you're gonna donk someone with Dragonite. So I would still put Lost Box in the A tier, I think. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I agree with the A tier inclusion. I don't think it's S tier like it maybe has been in the past. Do you want to order the
Yeah.
decks within like the tiers of like which we think is strongest?
I generally don't like doing that. I feel like if you get to that point, you should just add another tier at that point. Whenever you're feeling like you want to order them in the tier list, in the tiers. I always just like to say like these are S tier, these are A tier. And if you're really feeling like ordering a bunch of decks inside a tier, you should probably just add another tier.
Sure.
Um Anything
Next
else you
up,
want to
we've
say on
got
Lost Box?
the
Kyogre versus not Kyogre. Do you have an opinion on
oh,
that? I
sure.
think both are pretty good right now, personally.
Y-
I kind of like all Lost Box builds.
No, I think Kyogre might like this feels like a good time for Kyogre. I mean, but the thing is like the matchups that it's best against is going to be stuff like the Tina and the Jianpao and the Miraidon, which are like matchups you should probably be okay against already without Kyogre. So it's
Yeah.
like a lot of effort. I guess the main swing would be if you expected more Lugia. Lugia was the most popular deck day one of Worlds.
That was pretty crazy. I did
So if
Lost Box was
you,
the
I
most
think
popular deck day
Kyogre is.
too.
I think if you're not playing Kyogre, your Lugia matchup is like not very good. But if you have Kyogre, it's like very winnable for sure.
Yeah, actually, wasn't Lost Box 20% of the meta in day two?
Yes.
It was, right? It didn't have that
Yes.
good of a showing for being 20% of the meta, to be honest. I was super
Lost
surprised.
box.
Yeah. I mean, it made top 8, like, but I'm saying, like, overall, being 20% of the meta, like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
sure.
I didn't see them at all towards the top tables at the end. That really
Ve-
surprised, but day 1 and day 2 of Worlds meta surprised me. Lugia being the most popular was a shock, and then Lost Box being the most popular by that much was a surprise, especially with how much Lost Tina there was as well. So much Lost Zone. How popular do you think the Lost Box will be then?
I think there's
10?
a chance. I think it's still just going to be like a solid 10% deck.
Yeah.
Just because people like won't want to put it down. But like I almost feel like it should be like a 7%er, but I don't think it will be.
Yeah, my
Um,
general idea about Lost Zone decks was like there was people who like playing Lost Zone decks and like they made up a percentage of the meta, but it feels like more people are into playing Lost Tina than we're into playing Lost Box. So a lot of people who are playing other decks have like gravitated over to playing Lost Tina when they normally wouldn't have gravitated to playing Lost Box. I kind of thought that they kind of shared a percentage, but the more it's kind of seen the meta evolve, it feels like that's not true.
Next deck up on the list is the Miraidon Flaffy. So this one really has surged in popularity post World Championships. Um, was not super high on people's radars going into Worlds, but at Worlds,
Well,
obviously, what's up?
I say it did well for like how many people played it. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. I think there was like 5 in day 2 or something like that, and 2 got top 32, both Andrew Mahone and, Sagen Park, and then 1 more got like 30, let me see, 39th. Yeah, so, like, close to top 32. I don't know if that's a bubble or just, like, kind of right there. But, yeah, overall, like, this deck did do pretty good.
There's only 5 in day 2, is that what you said?
I think it was 5 or 6, yeah. Let me
Yeah,
just scroll real quick and see if
not
I
bad. Oh wait,
see
you
the
can
other
literally, yeah, the whole
ones.
all of Worlds is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5. 5 or 6, yeah. It's like about 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think that was the number. I remember looking at the
I
tournament.
I had actually looked at Gabber's build before
Oh, it tells
39th.
you the statistics here
Uh,
on Limitless.
oh, nice. I had actually looked at Gabber's build before, and I just looked at it again, I was reminded about it. This is like an insanely
Right
turbo
on
list.
5.
4 trekking shoes, 3 switching cups.
Yeah, I think that, this is what the Schultz brothers played in day 1 as well.
Oh, they were like this turbo?
I remember that Robin had Regieleki in his deck, but I don't know for sure, I guess.
Yeah, I heard that they had some lucky build. Yeah, I don't know about switching cups is a new extreme. I haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
But
Guarantee those generators.
yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's not
Save
wrong.
stuff before you squawk and seize it away, right?
We must
No, but I
preserve the
think
resources.
what has prevailed as the most popular way to play this deck since Worlds has definitely become Andrew Mahone's list with the 4 Path to the Peak. which,
Yeah.
at first glance, like, that's a pretty crazy innovation, like, not what people would have expected in a Miraidon deck, going into Worlds, but, Path is overall just, like, the best stadium in the game right now, for sure.
Yeah,
So
definitely,
you
by
just
far.
combine, like, your raw aggression with Path to the Peak. It's like a pretty good recipe.
Yeah, disruption with aggression, right? You got some judges in there, some Ionos for the late game potentially. Um, but and then the other top 32 list was Sagens. Um, and uh I feel like Sagen has like this is like the like no one else is playing this build. Basically, it feels like it's like the Sagen build. And actually, Sagen recently won the most recent late night tournament. There was
Yeah.
no top cut into the most recent late night tournament because I heard PTC Live was being funky, so they had to cut it after 9 rounds.
So
But Sagen
sick.
was 801. And actually, Shintaro was playing a path build and was in top eight as well. So both builds were in top eight of the most recent late night. Sagen and Shintaro, two of the biggest names in the game, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. Everyone's kind of loving Miraidon right now. It's definitely it's a huge surge in popularity post Worlds, like a lot. It's probably the most besides like Charizard because that's a new deck. Like probably the most drastic
Yeah.
shift in like meta percentage we've seen from a
Yeah,
deck.
I think Miraidon's gonna be pretty popular
I think
at,
it'll be around 10.
yeah, I think it's gonna be around 10 as well. I mean, I think, like, a lot of the people who were, like, rocking with, like, the Arceus decks and the Lugia decks, like, those decks are a little worse right now. I think a lot of people who were kinda playing that last season are gonna gravitate towards this Miraidon deck.
Okay, but how good do you think it is?
I
How good is
think
Miraidon?
I think that the deck is good, but I don't think that, like, if we look at these top 4 decks, I don't think it's very good against these top 4 decks. I think it's really good against, like, Chien Pao. I think it's really good against, the Arceus decks. I think it's really good against Lugia. I think those things combined made it solid at Worlds. I think you can of these, I think Gardevoir is probably your, like, you're probably fine against Giratina. I feel like your Lost Box matchup has to be terrible. I feel like your Charizard matchup has to be terrible.
I
Gardevoir,
think you can get around Charizard. I don't think Charizard's too bad.
you just have to be able to nuke 2 of them, though, with Raichus, I feel like.
You get that first like knockout maybe on like Arceus V or something. They gotta if they go first, they gotta get down a
Yeah.
lot of basics to play around you. Just kind of
I
and you
guess
have
they
four
do put a
path.
lightning weak Pidgeot in play, most
You got
likely.
4 path too. They're super reliant on abilities, right? So
Sure.
or 3 path, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah,
close. And that's the
I
thing
think
is, like, turn 1 attack plus path to the peak can just win games. And I think that's,
yeah.
like, what the strength of this deck is right now.
I think one of the problems with the deck is I think it actually is just it's gonna come up short consistently against good players. 'Cause I think good players are playing stuff like the Lost Box, like the Gardevoir. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Miraidon for me is tier in the B tier. I don't think it's
I think
quite as
B
bad as
tier is a great
Charizard.
place to put it, yeah.
D tier or B tier?
B tier.
Oh, I thought you said D. I was like, I don't know about that. I think it's better than Charizard. It feels more powerful than Charizard. Yeah, a lot of your wins are just kind of it feels a little gimmicky, little trolly, but it's not bad. Just path judge. It's not a terrible way to win games.
It's I
Let's
mean,
move
it's a
on.
real thing, right?
Yeah, people have been calling. Well, maybe it is actually the other way. No, it is the other way around. People have been calling this deck Blue Miraidon. That is the Chien Pao Baxcalibur. I'm gonna start by saying I think Chien Pao Baxcalibur. It's more like I like to call it a Baxcalibur deck, but it's just not. I don't think it's good. I don't think the deck's good. I think the deck's like not. It's very underwhelming.
I think that this deck right now, if you could just get Chien Pao, Pidgeot, and Baxcalibur into play, and then, like, Path to the Peak didn't exist, like, this deck would be so sick. But the fact that Path to the Peak exists, and it's played in a lot of the top decks, it's played in Miraidon, it's played in the Tina, it's played in the Muse, it's played in the Arceus decks, in combination with the Disruption supporters is tough. Now, I
Even if you go
mean,
the
the
B barrel route,
allure
I
of
think
Chien Pao is definitely very strong, right? It can one hit KO anything. And you also
anything.
get Gradient Greninja, which is one of the most oppressive attackers in the format. If you just, like,
Yep.
turn 2 Greninja people, you can just win the game on the spot, like against
Waiting for
Gardevoir
water
or
energy to rotate.
Charizard. What, waiting for water energy to rotate? Is that what you just
Yeah,
said? Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
So I think I probably like Chien Pao a little bit more than you do, but yeah, I don't think it's, like, amazing by any means.
Yeah, I think it's the deck just struggles. There's no build out. I haven't played
This
enough
is
of it to
not the
really
deck
have
that you were
a
gonna put in D tier, is it?
no, but I would put it in C tier, right next to Charizard. I feel like you have to play B barrel. That's like the only thing I know about Chien Pao. Every
Yeah.
time I played the deck, it's okay. I feel like you have to play B barrel. I wouldn't even go down the Pidgeot route. You
Yeah.
would like to, I think, to experiment with it and try it out, but it's just like in the current meta, you can't do it. So you got to go B barrel. But even then, the deck just is a pile for the most part. I feel like D
Yeah,
tier.
I think C tier is a fine place to put it. I could if I, like, had played a little bit more, maybe I would, like, be arguing to push it up into B tier, but I think C is, like, a fine place to put it. I do think this deck will be pretty popular. I think it's, like, a solid 7, 8% deck.
Yeah, it'll still be up there.
People seem to really like this list, or this deck, I should say. But, yeah. Moving on now, we do have Intellian Urshifu. This was, the deck that won NAIC. It ended up doing pretty decently at Worlds. There was quite a few good players playing the deck as well. Was really close actually to making top 8, but Kreckler in round 7 got paired into you and was, I'm sure, very sad about it.
Yeah,
Um,
had the text too, had the Spirit Tomb, had the Giacomo or however you say it, and the round after that, Alex was on the winning end against Pram
right.
as well. So yeah, it was very close to getting to the top 8, and who knows where I could have gone from there. Um, but the deck, I mean, I think that the build is pretty standardized, right? There's not too much to talk about in terms of build. Um, I would say you probably shouldn't tech for Mew. I wouldn't play Spiritomb or Giacomo because it doesn't matter. You still lose if your opponent has any idea how to play the matchup. So I wouldn't recommend teching the Mew stuff. But if you just go and take Shemansky's list from Worlds and then cut those 2 cards for 2 other cards. The deck's really powerful right now, I actually think.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit unfamiliar with the Tina matchup, which is probably a matchup you should be pretty familiar with. But
Yeah.
if you feel confident in that matchup, then I don't think you should really be too worried about playing Rapid Strike at Pittsburgh. And I think it's like a pretty solid play overall. But if you're unconfident in the Tina matchup, I would say not play it. But my little experience with the matchup and what I've heard from some people talking about it, it seems like it's a pretty good, solid matchup. Like Rapid Strike or Lost Box decks are generally pretty good for the Rapid Strike deck in general. I don't think Tina's too different. They do have the
Yeah.
ability to one hit KO one of your VMAXs though.
Yeah, but Tina can also withstand the game a little bit by not having to commit as many low HP Pokemon to the board,
Yep,
right?
that's
Because
true.
of Abyss Seeking. Um, so I think it definitely is a close matchup, and that's kind of the big question mark. But if you look at like the matchups here of the top decks, Urshifu and Tellian, favored against Gardevoir, favored against Lost Box, favored against Miraidon, Charizard probably favored, probably close, but
Yeah.
probably favored, right?
I mean, yeah, it's
Uh,
the Rapid Strike box is the deck that has the most control over when you take your prize cards of any deck in the format.
right.
So you just don't have to give them the big Charizard attacks until you want to.
And like I think the decks that were probably tougher for this, like the Giratinas and then Lugia. I don't
It's
know
pretty tough.
actually
Lugia's
really how
tough.
this match. I feel like it's like a close matchup, but probably Lugia favored, right?
Yeah, Lugia's
Um,
Lugia's pretty good against it. So Arctina's had a pretty bad matchup into Rapid Strike. You had no way to one hit KO anything. But
yeah,
your Lugia matchup was bad. Arctina matchup was good. But yeah, like Lugia hasn't been. I feel like Lugia is one of those decks though. It like shows up at regionals. It's kind of like Mew. Like you're like Mew's a terrible play this weekend. 10%, like
yeah, sure,
every single time consistently. So I feel like Lugia is definitely not quite as consistently as Mew. We've seen Lugia have its fall off moments, but it's still one of those decks when like a major tournament comes around, the Lugia players are going to show up still. But I think the majority of the meta is good for Rapid Strike and Teleon, right?
yeah. I would lean honestly towards putting this in the A tier, but
Yeah, I
it
agree. No,
probably
I think
probably fits a little better in B. But I don't know. It
no,
sounds like
I
you
like it
agree
in
with
A.
A.
I mean, we're not talking about in general. We're talking about for Pittsburgh specifically. I think it's a pretty solid player right now. I think,
Yeah,
you're just hoping you don't like. You're hoping that Mew and Lugia, don't show up too big because those are like the matchups that are pretty tough. Those ones are pretty tough. And the next one we're talking about is the Mew.
it is the Mew indeed. So this has it wasn't very popular pre-worlds. It wasn't very as popular in day 1, it was, like, the 7th most played deck day 1, 6th or 7th, I think, and then became the 2nd most played deck in day 2 of Worlds, and then
Wait, was it
obviously
really
yeah,
the second? I didn't know it was second. I
maybe
thought Guardy
maybe
was still
3rd,
second.
might have been 3rd, sorry, might have
No,
been
you might
3rd.
you might be right on that. I think you maybe are right on that. I'm actually not sure.
Well,
Wait,
we
we can
can
check.
if
We
only
can
we
check.
could check real quick, it was 2nd most popular according
Yeah.
to
Oh,
Limitless.
it was tied. It was tied with
Tied with
Guardy.
Gardevoir, tied with Gardevoir.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
So, yeah, deck that ended up obviously winning the world championships. It was the most popular deck in cut of the world championships as well, with yourself and Dion Lee also making top 4 and top 8 respectively with the deck. Coming off a good finish with the deck Azul. How do you feel about it? What do you think? I guess like I the big question is like after Worlds, after doing so well, and after Charizard coming out, how do you feel about it?
Well, initially, it felt like it was, like, probably in a pretty bad spot because Charizard was more popular and kind of an unknown quantity, but Charizard's starting to fall off a little bit. Like you said, it's getting pre-exposed before the regional even goes down. If this was happening 2 weeks ago, I'd say Mew's probably not a good play, but I think it's solid. I think it's still as solid as ever. Less Spiritombs are running around as well, which of course is good for the thing. Of course, like still stuff like Lost Box is still playing Drapion, but they're always going to have that. Um, but yeah, I think it's about as good as it ever has been, to be honest. I think it's like fine. It's a solid play going into Pittsburgh. It's not as popular. It doesn't seem like it's well. Yeah, I say like it doesn't seem like it's been as popular lately. That's kind of the reflection from online tournaments, but like Mew always shows up at 10%, like consistently. It went
Yeah.
down. It's never been under 9%, maybe like all of last season. It did. There was like a 9.3 tournament, but it's either 9% or higher. Like it's never
So
been
does
like under
that
nine
lead to
percent.
people busting the techs back into their decks, right? Is the question.
Um, I guess maybe
Also,
like we might see the Tinas put back the Spiritombs in. We could see that.
honestly, I think the Tinas instead of Spiritomb should play Drapion.
That might be the better way to go, to be honest. I guess that you'd kind of maybe want to make a prediction around Lugia because like Spiritomb is so powerful against Lugia. But yeah, it definitely feels like the Spiritomb does not do that much against Mew. But Tina used to have one of the best Mew matchups
Yeah.
in the game back when it did play the Drapion.
But that was also DTE Mew, right? Like you have a little bit more
Yeah,
flexibility because you have the one prize Meloetta option.
definitely different.
So it's not like pretty the reason that Tina used to just stomp Mew is because you could only attack with Mew
UV Max,
VMAX,
yeah.
and you just had 2 guaranteed one-hit KOs on Mew VMAXs.
Yeah, you just sit
Drapion for
there and you didn't
3,
even
Tina for 3.
yeah, you wouldn't even put down your Tina until you went, like, build up your board, like, go through some Comfeys, and you'd be like, "Alright, bench Tina, bench Drapion, knockout." And they'd be like, "Okay," and then they're in kind of a tough spot.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if you're specifically trying to tech from you, I mean, maybe. I would have to, like, test it again because things have changed for sure, but it definitely was like, at Worlds, I was not afraid of Spiritomb in Lost Zone
Yeah.
Tina, that's for sure. Um,
So, where do we think Mew should go? I mean, it's not like I feel like I could see it being an A tier play as well this weekend just because of how powerful the deck is just in
yeah.
general.
I think you're right. I think it probably deserves an A slot still. Mew's still kicking, still very much alive, feeling good. One deck
Arctina is a name that I have not heard in quite some time.
for good reason, and
Fell off pretty hard.
this is my D tier deck. Your Guardy matchup is rough with how much Guardy's looking out for path. Lost Tina is a terrible matchup.
Yeah.
Rapid Strike matchup is bad. Your Fusion Mew matchup is bad. Your Miraidon matchup is bad. What do you beat? Still unsure. Your Chi and Pao matchup is probably good, but that's because Chi and Pao is so bad. But when you're not beating anything, there's no reason to play the deck. Arctina has fallen quite a ways. Tina decks, I mean, Arc decks in general have fallen off pretty heavily, to be honest. But it's because of Lost Tina. Lost Tina is pretty tough for Arc decks.
Yeah, I think Lost Tina, like, I mean, if your deck this weekend can't beat Lost Tina, it's gonna be
Pack it up.
pretty tough to decide to play it. Now, I will say, like, it could be a little more justified than like playing a deck that lost to Lugia this past January, right? Like you would never have played a deck that lost to Lugia in the like Silver Tempest format. Like it
Yeah.
made no
That's
sense.
well, that's like a 30% to a 15%, right? It's a pretty big
Yeah.
difference. But yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, if you really want to roll up with your Arctina and hope to get lucky against the couple lost Tinas you play against, it's like not a terror. It's not as bad as like rolling up something that straight up lost to
I mean,
Lugia.
there will be people in day 2 of the tournament that play 0 Lost Tina day 1. It's just like
That's true.
part of the variance of Pokemon tournaments. So there is always the chance. But
Arctina could
also
even win the event.
there will be people in day 2 of the tournament that played 6 Lost Tinas day 1. So like
Yeah. It can all happen. You
you
have to
feeling lucky, punk? You know, like
This is definitely
I
the type of deck for someone who drove like 30 minutes to the event. That's the time to play Arctina because if you go 0-3 because you hit 3 lost Tinas, you can just go home.
I would probably lean more towards putting it in C and just like not doing anything in D, but I'm
I
honestly
think it's solidly worse than Charizard and Chien-Pao though, like, as far as the
yeah,
play goes, like,
sure, sure.
5 tiers work here.
All right, we've got single strike Lugia next. Like we mentioned, Lugia was the most popular deck day 1 of Worlds, did not do very good in day 2. I think its conversion rate was like probably okay, but not like amazing by any means.
Mhm.
Um and Lugia still did okay at Worlds. There was like 3, I think, in top 32, something like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, there's a couple on the winning like, Raz lost the winning in,
Yeah.
so they
Daichi was
were
here in top 32.
They were close. They were close. They were not too far off from making it, but yeah, none did make it. But I'm actually a pretty big Lugia fan overall right now. I've actually it feels like most tournaments when I'm thinking about I don't like playing the deck. But if you enjoy playing Lugia, like I think it's a pretty good week to be playing it. I think it's just solid right now. I think Lugia is really solid.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at these top decks, I think Lugia is fine against Gardevoir, especially if people are not playing Spiritomb and Temple of Sinnoh.
Oh,
That
Sinnoh's that's a
combo
big
is
reason.
brutal for Lugia, but it feels like almost no one is playing Spiritomb and Gardevoir right now, and
At
there
all.
are less Temple of Sinnohs in lists as well. So that's two good things for Lugia.
Fair enough.
I think your Lost Tina matchup is solid.
It's
It's like
close.
fine.
Yeah.
Like you've maybe slightly favored, maybe either way, right? Probably just 50-50. I think your Lost Box matchup is fine. Kyogre's closer, but regular Lost Box is fine.
You're solid against
Urshifu
both.
matchup is fine. Your Mew matchup is not very good.
Well, I
Your
think Mew
Miraidon
matchup is
matchup is
fine. I
probably
think
not very good, right?
Mew matchup is fine. I think Mew and Miraidon are both fine matchups. It's just like the way the games play out makes it feel bad. That's like something I've
I think
realized.
Miraidon having the charm or whatever, the thing that buffs their HP
You
makes it
got to play
harder.
Stonejourner. If you got the Stonejourner,
Sure,
you
sure.
definitely need to be playing Stonejourner if you're playing Lugia this weekend. But if you got the Stonejourner, I think the matchup's like about 50-50. It's just like Miraidon blows you out of the water and beats you turn one a lot. But
Yeah.
when you actually play like 100 games, I think it gets pretty close to 50-50. That's my experience. But, I'm obviously not like a huge fan of even playing that much Lugia. So I don't go out of my way to play too much Lugia. But I think it is pretty close. Up your stadium. Make sure you're playing the Pumpkaboo. I would also
Yeah.
like play 4 stadiums as well. A lot of path.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can get on board with all those things. I guess like so no Urshifu then is kind of the question. Charizard is probably tough without Urshifu, but like honestly, does Urshifu even really make a difference? I guess because like Urshifu's your way you can one shot
Yeah.
something, but then at the same time, they just one shot your Urshifu back for three prizes at the end of the game.
There's enough like 2 prizes in play and they can't deal with your gift energy. So, like they always have to trigger your gift energy. So I think the matchup is fine with Urshifu or the Cobalion.
Yeah,
Um,
Cobalion's
but
been a tech that a lot of people
I
are
also just
playing.
wouldn't tech for Charizard if I was to
Yeah.
play Lugia. I don't think I would tech for Charizard. Cobalion I think makes the matchup fine. Without Cobalion, I think you're probably in trouble against Charizard, but it's like a deck that we're kind of like saying is like not that powerful and is already not going to be that heavily played. Like, why would you don't have to tech for everything. I'd rather be a little bit more consistent against the decks I expect to do well than the Charizard I hope to just not to hit one of in day one.
Yes, I mean I think Lugia's in a good spot. Um Are we're I don't know that we're doing 5 A tier decks though, and
We
it's
might. I
probably not
mean,
good enough to be S tier, right?
no, definitely. I think it is just another A tier deck though. That's how I feel about Lugia going to this tournament anyways. Like, I mean, you said it too, right? Like we're not doing it, but you kind of want to do it, don't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely better than B tier. I feel like it's as far as plays for the tournament go, it definitely feels better than B tier.
A deck I think
Um,
we can probably stick in B tier, and this is the one I wanted to put on the tier list just because I think it is like a solid deck, and I'm actually it's a very I enjoy playing this deck personally. Is the Palkia deck, so I wanted to add it to the tier list. It's very underplayed, so that's why it's not initially on the tier list. I think the build is pretty much discovered. Not too much to talk about there. Go look up Cyrus's build from Worlds. Maybe make a couple adjustments. Um, but yeah, this deck is just like super fun to play. To be honest, I really enjoy playing this deck a lot. Um, it's a ton of fun for me personally. And I think it's like it's one of those decks that's like surprisingly just feels solid against most decks, but it's nothing. It's not like a Gardevoir where it feels like it hits that like or a Mew, a Gardevoir or a Mew or a Lost Tina where it just feels really powerful. You kind of just like get by, but the deck gets by consistently against most matchups. You're not really struggling against anything.
well, there is the first ever uncommon energy tier list of where we think all the decks rank going into Pittsburgh. A lot of A tier decks. I mean, there's just like a
Yeah,
lot of good decks right now, right?
yeah.
Um, I feel like if we maybe like argued about this or like thought about it a little more, we would maybe move some of these around. Like I could even see putting Lost Box down in like B tier, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate that adjustment to be honest.
Are we
Um,
doing it?
I don't know if we're doing it though. I wouldn't do it though. Lost Box is Lost Box. As long, like the thing is, like, there's so many different builds of Lost Box. One of the builds will probably be A tier, and the rest will be like B and C tier. But like Kyogre, Turbo, some kind of like one prize single strike or one prize stuff, like what Alex Shemansky had in his build he's been playing at Cups recently. Like one of those kind of builds is probably A tier, and the rest are probably B and C. I think it's fine to like leave it in A. But like, yeah, there's so many different builds of Lost Box, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I also am like maybe having a moment of clarity here and like looking at the fact that Giratina Lost Box is in the A tier. And I'm just like remembering all the times I've gotten like Ionoed to 4 and drawn like V Star, Sableye, Grass Energy, and like a napkin or something,
I do not
like
enjoy, like I said, like I don't like enjoy the way that Lugia plays. I don't enjoy the way that Lost Tina plays either. But it's really hard to ignore the evidence, you know?
yeah, sure.
So I don't know. I could see putting it down in B. I would be fine putting it down in B personally, like with just my opinion of the deck being applied. But it's hard to it's hard to ignore the evidence. It's out there.
But is this not meant to be our opinion, right?
All right, let's put
Like
Lost Tina in C. You're right.
C? We're dropping it
No.
from A to C. I
I mean,
think
we
we
gotta be
put it
like
in
it's
B.
our opinion with some objectiveness, right? Like,
So I think B is the happy medium.
all right, Lost. I can get behind Lost Tina and B. To be honest, I can get behind that.
And Lost Box and B as well. No, no, no. I think this is good. This feels better.
If we could split up the Lost Box variants, like I don't even know which one I think is best going into Pittsburgh, but I think you could probably split up into like 3 different variants, and it would probably there'd be like one in A, one in B, one in C. That one's really hard to predict though, because that's like purely based on the meta percentages for every deck at the tournament, which we could like make our predictions on, which we did. But
Sure.
and then yeah, like Palkia
So
as far as
this
like
is our tier
percentages.
list of how we feel these decks are positioned going into the tournament as far as like how good of plays they are and like mixed with how what the meta is going to look like and what we think the meta is going to look like and how we feel about the decks.
Yeah, and we'll do like stuff like this for future tournaments as well. Not every single major tournament, but whenever we feel like there's a big shakeup, a good enough shakeup where we want to do it. Probably going to like every IC, we'll probably do one, and any first format of a tournament, we'll go through it again as well. So, but yeah, with that said, I think we've almost covered everything. Last thing to talk about, we got some predictions to do.
Oh, jeez.
Heading into the first.
This is going to be our longest episode ever, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it had to happen at some point, right? Um, heading to the first, we'll go through these real fast here. Heading to the first regional of the season, first major tournament of the season. Let's rattle these off real fast. Chip, highest placing Charizard deck.
Like I said, Charizard got pre-exposed. I think the highest placing Charizard is going to be top 64.
That's what I was gonna say, but someone's got to run hot and dodge whatever matchups the deck is bad against. I'm gonna go with the top 32
Okay,
on the
okay.
Charizard here. I gotta try and get an advantage somewhere. Top 128 seems like a little bit too far. I feel like one will
Sure.
definitely get top 64, so I gotta hope for something there. And then the battle of the beat sticks. Maridon versus Blue Maridon. What deck is more likely to win, Maridon or Chien Pao?
I'm going with Maridon for sure. Like I said, sometimes just like that aggression of path plus a turn one attack is enough to just
Seven
like win a
swing.
game. Throw a judge in there too. Why not?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I'm gonna go with the Maridon. I can't talk that much. Can't talk that much about the Chien Pao or talk down on Chien Pao that much and then pick it. So I'm gonna go with Maridon as well. And
Right.
then
And the
the
last one here is going to be, will our regional champion in Pittsburgh be a first time regional champion, or will it be someone who's a repeat regional champion, someone who has won a regional championships in their career? Now, if I know Azul, I know he's going to say that he's going to win. And so it's going to be a repeat. But I'm saying just by the numbers, it's gonna be a first timer. Someone is gonna let's by the way, the person who wins this tournament gets an invite to the world championships.
they're in there.
The first ever person to get an invite via just winning a regional championships. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a first time competitor. And am I right, Azul, in predicting that you will say that it's gonna be yourself a repeat regional champion?
I don't think my predictions always align with me winning the tournament. Like I think for
Sure.
Australia or OCIC, I picked Japan to win
I think you did, yeah.
OCIC. But I do plan on getting my second Worlds invite in Pittsburgh. So lock me in for a repeat chip. First person of two tournaments, 2 invites. That's like a pretty good track record, right? Or that's a pretty good back-to-back tournaments.
Honestly, yeah, you
So
would just be grinching whoever is in second place out of an invite, right?
they got a good start. They got some point, what, 100 or 180 points. They can do
I
something with
wonder
that.
if
They'll
they
get the invite.
would drop it down. Probably not, but
No,
I
they
know
already said
they
no.
they did
They
that
said
in
they
Go last year, though.
yeah, because that's the only way to get an invite and go
Yeah.
is but no, they already said no. They will not drop down
Well, Go
on
has
the
championship
thing.
points this year, I think.
Yeah, yeah. They just so that probably won't be the drop down for them. But yeah, go ahead and send us out, Chip. Longest
Yeah.
episode ever.
Yes, longest episode ever. Thanks so much to everyone for listening. I'm going to try to finish it quickly so it's not 2 hours. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave us a rating and a review and follow us over on x.com at Chip Ritchie, at Azul_GG, and at
Did you just call it
Uncommon.
X.com? Did you say that last time?
Yeah, that's what it's called, bro.
Twitter.com. No, it is called X.com,
No,
isn't
bro, we
it? We
got to
can't
hurry
say
up. So it's
Twitter.
less than 2 hours. We're going to
Yeah,
go to the bonus episode
thanks for
right
everyone
now.
watching. We're gonna go into the bonus episode. Have a good one. Catch y'all next week. Hopefully Tuesday at 7 a.m. Eastern. See ya.
Under 2 hours. Let's get it.